Good morning, folks, and welcome to the 2022 SuperKarts USA Winter Series live here on Kart Chaser. My name's Rob Haddon from eKartingNews.com, and beside me, Kart Chaser's own Xander Clemens. And Xander, we're both super excited to get this season underway.
Man, this is going to be an awesome day of racing here. It's been crazy. We were just talking about it off air, and we're going to talk a whole lot more about the track. The track conditions today are going to be a little bit tricky. They're still tricky right now. Of course, we're live all day long on Kart Chaser. Free to watch on Facebook and YouTube. And, of course, on our premium membership, you'll be able to watch the main events later on this afternoon. But free to watch qualifying and pre-finals on the Kart Chaser Facebook page, on the Kart Chaser YouTube page. We're working on getting on the SuperKarts USA Facebook as well. We're live from AMR Homestead-Miami Motorplex, presented by MG Tires. And the road to Las Vegas and SuperNats 25 begins now.
Well, folks, I'll tell you one thing. There's been some changes here for this particular weekend. Obviously, that is of the racetrack. They made some changes over the offseason. Xander had a chance yesterday to go out and take a closer look at the changes that were made to the facility during the offseason. Changes that we are sure are going to change the challenges for the drivers as well.
So again, karting is no stranger to the South Florida area. It's been coming here for over 20 years, more than 2 decades of competition. And the 4 past years, we've been coming here for the SKUSA Winter Series live at AMR Motorplex. Of course, this year they've made significant changes. There were some problem spots looking back. Changes that they made was to the outside curbing, both on the entry and exit of the corner, because obviously we run this racetrack both forwards and backwards here for the SuperKarts USA Winter Series and for their local club championship. So in a collaboration with the Homestead-Miami Speedway and, of course, themselves to work with the shared parking lot that the track uses, they leveled the curbing to make it flat, but then they had to worry about the runoff situation, because in years past, the curbs being elevated as high as they were, especially in their initial rendition, it kept drivers from wanting to jump over them and go beyond it to more pavement. So they added grass patches around the racetrack, and that's been added both again on the entry and exit of every corner, so that will deter drivers from going beyond track limits on either direction the racetrack is run. So the other major changes they made, of course, was to the inside curbing, and that they raised up to the original CIK standards that these curbs were set to be built towards. Over the 20 years this track has seen action, they've been run over, leveled, and slowly scraped down to the point where it was fast enough to go over them, but not necessarily low enough that it kept drivers from getting hurt. So on a regular hot lap, many drivers were suffering rib injuries year after year after year. These curbs are raised back up now to a point where they completely upset the go-kart, and while of course it may not feel too good going over them, you're not going to want to touch them on a regular basis, which has made this track a heck of a lot safer and a lot better in drivers' eyes. They've also lengthened these curbs 5 feet, both on the beginning and the end, to make it a little bit easier, so that way no driver is wanting to cut the inside of the curbing off to only put 2 tires in the runoff and 2 tires over the curbing. If you want to 4-wheel jump this thing, you're going to be jumping twice, jumping on the early part, landing in the center, and then jumping again on the exit. Nobody wants to do that. So again, as we've seen so far, a few drivers have been forced onto these things already in the few weeks of testing, but no one's been really going here for hot laps. There is one corner in particular, though, that does not form all the other standards by having a simple exit curb and grass, and that is this section here from turn number 1 to turn number 2, going the normal direction that we'll be going here in January. And the reason for that is when they had their regional race here just a few weeks ago at the end of December, the week before Christmas, it rained, and it had only been about a week and a half since that grass had been plotted. So as soon as drivers were already starting to rip the grass up in the dry, it became an absolute mud pile in the rain. And out of fear, obviously, of that happening again, and just on the consistent basis that a lot of drivers really struggle through this section, especially some of the novice drivers that come to this racetrack, they decided to make it a completely wide curb-only section. So that divot that they started right here to be level, like with the rest of the corner, now extends all the way across the normal section that they have. So again, this changes this specific part of the racetrack, because you'll see drivers want to go 4 tires out. In fact, if you look back over here, you can see the rubber kind of almost make a nice arc through the curbing section, but you'll notice it doesn't necessarily go all the way up to the barrier. So again, working away from barrier racing and working away, of course, from those super high curbs that in years past used to really injure drivers here. These major changes, and we're about to see how they play out for the very first time here with the SKUSA Winter Series.
Well, great stuff there from Xander. And Xander, interestingly, those curbs were covered in water earlier today when we woke up at the hotel. Obviously, torrential rains coming in. Those of you may on social media have saw how much rain we had in the paddock, 1 foot, 2 feet in some areas. A wild day morning to start this weekend. Of course, wild for you guys to get prepped here for Kart Race Chaser as well. Nuts.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, we were here till dark 30 last night, making sure everything was good, wanting to button up. Obviously, this is our first of many broadcasts here this year that we want to make sure we do it right, come out of the gate swinging, and then, we work out of our, get in here, and it's flooded. Yeah. And I mean, as you know, Rob, I've worked here for 3 years full-time in the past, and I know all about the quick fire drills we have to do with the pumps to get out here because basically the way that the drainage works here in Homestead, obviously we're right down by the coast. This is the southernmost town before you get into the Florida Keys. Yeah. So you are right at sea level. The way the drainage works in this parking lot, it's French drain. So they just go down to the water table. They don't go into a proper storm drainage system. So very easily that water table fills up right to the surface because you're only maybe 2 feet above sea level at best, and then it just sits on top in the paddock on the racetrack. So we have generator pumps. We pump them out actually to the storm drain system. The crew here has done an awesome job, obviously clearing the racetrack out. We only were delayed maybe about an hour and 15, so we do apologize, of course, for taking a minute to go online with all that. But we're here. We got practice through. The track is drying. It's working its way towards getting there, but man, it was definitely interesting for a lot of these drivers in morning warm-up, and they had a wet final happy hour session too.
Indeed, it's going to change kind of the schedule for the day as well. Those of you who looked at the schedule, you knew exactly when the categories that you may want to be watching are going to be on the racetrack. That's going to change quite a bit throughout the day. It'll be ready racing. We're going to do the best we can to get the entire day in, of course, in a winter race like this as well, Xander. That sunset comes a little earlier, so we're going to potentially get pressed by that, but we will push our way through. Qualifying coming up next.
Yeah, qualifying up next year. We'll kick things off with the youngest drivers on the SuperKarts USA Winter Series class structure, the Micro Swifts, ages 7 to 10 years old. And I was talking to one of my friends coming into the track here today, and Rob, I was talking about the first time you and I met. The first time I got a big-time announcing gig was on the EKN Radio Network at Daytona Kart Week in 2015. And in a similar way, granted, due to a lot of red flags, we had the main event shorted, I think, to 12 laps.
Agreed, yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I didn't want to be a driver then, but it was probably the most entertaining racing I saw the entire season because we're basically having heat races for big-time trophies.
Yeah, there's pressure, right? Because you got to get it done early. You don't have that 22-lap final to get it done. You got to get it done in a shorter amount of time. We'll see what SuperKarts USA does, what they elect to do in terms of maybe changing the schedule, knowing that time crunch is coming. But interesting, you talked about Daytona. That memory actually came up on Facebook when you actually first were doing that. I think you're about 16 or 17 years of age. You were fantastic back then. Of course, you've developed your career well now, which is fantastic. But again, that's what's going to be exciting about today because it's all bets are off. How do you approach the weekend? What do you do in terms of do you maybe not make in the pre-final, do you not make a move, not wanting to go to the back, knowing that maybe that main event could be shortened? It might not give you as much time to get back to the front.
And again, we haven't really seen this track race on a big stage. The closest we had was a regional event back at the end of December with the new curbing setup. You talked about it on your EKN Paddock Insider yesterday. The track lap times are a little bit slower. The track feels a little bit tighter, right? Because it was almost racing surface, four-wheel jumping over those curbs. So now we've lost essentially at least half a cart width, if not a full cart width. And then the runoff area, of course, as well. It's tightened these guys up. It's put them in a box. And sometimes the drivers may not like it, but putting drivers in a box and making them figure their way out provides the best racing.
I like that challenge. I like pushing these drivers. A lot of these guys know this racetrack as well, right? So it's good to see it change up a little bit. It's going to be a more challenge for everybody else. And again, we'll see what happens throughout this weekend. One thing, Xander, you talked about the racetrack. A dry line developing around, but there is some standing water other places. But there's still potential for rain coming in. It looks like it may push a little bit more to the north. But again, we could get more rain throughout this day as well. It could make things exciting.
Yeah, it could make things very, very exciting. Of course, again, another day where, you hate to be a tuner in the paddock, right? Because you don't know what to do. You've got your rain set up. Half of them already had to put them out here for warm-up, then convert over to what will probably be dry for the majority of the classes here is, again, the track forming a dry line. It dries in a couple awkward places, though. We can even see on a few places on the racetrack, and if we pan over to the racetrack, we'll take a look at that, where you'll see in some of the sections, specifically over in turn 7 and 8 in the carousel, as well as the back hairpin turn number 4, you'll see standing puddles that don't necessarily dissipate. So if we look here, turn number 5 right now, that doesn't look necessarily too bad. That's honestly pretty good, and all the way down the front stretch, you can see the dry paddock going over, looking pretty good right there. If we pan back over to the left, even with a few puddles here on the front straightaway, where it's going to get hairy is that middle sector of the racetrack. Coming out of this hairpin, going out of the left-handed kink, turn number 6, and then further over to the left, turn number 7 and 8. You can see right there, there's still some major puddles just off the racing line, so if you get past, you go side by side through there, your slick tire is going to be very, very wet, Rob.
Yeah, and Xander, how many times we see people, especially at the start of a race, going 2-3 wide through that double right-hander. You're on the outside. If you're going for slicks, you might go for a ride. You got to watch where you're placing your cart coming through that corner. That's going to be a very tough part of the racetrack.
Yeah, again, it just goes back to this track is completely flat, so any small little divot, even just a half-inch down, is going to puddle. So it makes it obviously very tricky for them to clear the racetrack up from the AMR crew. Not only were they pumping water off the racetrack, they had a full track drying setup through the entire morning to at least do the best they could to get the puddles off of the standard racing line and definitely get all the major hydroplane areas off. But it's still tricky, and at this point now, it's time to race. You know, again, like you said, we're on a tight schedule with sunlight, so we only know how many sessions and how much track time we can really get in the day. We got to get out there, let the carts be the track dryers.
And right now we have a full grid of drivers ready to go. Micro Swift will be the first drivers onto the racetrack to start off qualifying. That's always interesting too. We'll put these young kids out. When the track changes throughout the race day, they have to have that mindset, right? They went out into what was a very wet session earlier today to start warm-up. Now they've got a dry racetrack. For these young kids, their coaches are telling them, get a feel for the track in those first couple of laps, because it's going to be a lot different than it was earlier today.
Oh, majorly. And again, not only that, but for pretty much every single Micro Swift driver in the field, when it comes to national level, they've never done a race without the pushback bumper.
That's true.
So not only is it maybe one of the first times for a lot of them in the rain or in a half-drying racetrack, but now there's no bumper penalty, so when we get to the racing, if it is still an intermediate track or going back and forth, I mean, there are just so many variables being thrown at these young kids, and they're the first ones out to test the water.
And you're right, because we have such a great field in cadet this year, both the micro and the mini categories, very strong in the SKUSA Winter Series. We've got some kids that are making their first national start as well, so a lot of pressure on some of these kids who are, 7, 8, 9, 10 years of age. Pressure on them, and of course, as Xander said, it's going to be a different racetrack. Lots of variables for the youngest kids in the SKUSA program to try to figure out as we start qualifying.
I will say, though, it is one of the coolest things when you see some kid that just comes out and he's got it. He just has an ultimate, natural given talent and feel, because this is the conditions where it shows, right? Where they don't know every lap is going to be quicker by tenths of a second. There's going to be more grip every single corner. So it's not just going in and playing chicken with the right pedal, but it's also a matter of just feeling out the grip and being like, all right, I could have gone faster than last time. I'll go quicker than again. And again, that's what we got to see in happy hour again yesterday, especially in that X30 Senior session, the final one, where we started with the majority of the field on wets. Noel Leon was about 0.3 of a second clear every single lap, and then the last lap, Lou Westover, a guy on slicks,
I heard that,
a second on him.
Yeah, and that's what happens when the track changes as much as it does. The cool thing about when we get these Micro Swift drivers out here, you've seen this before, Xander, you've spent so much time here, but also on the national scene, the amount the Micro Swift drivers will learn throughout the year. We watch that development throughout the year, right? When they get into their second year, third year potentially in micro, they step things up in a big way, and that's the drivers we expect, I think, to get to the forefront of this grid here, the ones that potentially in their second or third years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a big graduating class out of micro. You know, Keelan Harvick, banner year in 2021, without a doubt. He's up into mini. Isaac Malcutt's already moved up to mini. He was already most of the way out through most of 2021. I mean, most of Keelan's contenders that were up there are into mini. So we've got a brand new set of contenders, and this is where they kind of set the pace and set the tone for the year. You know, the kid that comes out swinging on round one, well, that's a kid that gets the most confidence into round 2 and 3, and that's huge for the kids at that age.
Well, when David Cole and I sat down to do our Outlap podcast, as you know, our preview podcast, we would look through the grid and say, okay, who's going to be strong? When it comes to mini, there's so many kids that moved up from that micro class into mini that could be in the middle of the hunt. Lucas Palacio being one for Trinity Karting Group. He was, I think, P2 yesterday in that final session of the day. He could be very strong. But again, watching some of these kids continue to develop, you are right, though. This is kind of the start of the 2022 season, right? So many kids have moved up. We'll have a better feel for who could potentially run for championships when we're done with this weekend.
Right. I don't envy you at all for some of the younger age groups of trying to predict who's going to be the quick ones here at Homestead, because you have really not a lot to gauge of when the whole lead pack moves up, you know, and there's obviously testing that goes on over the winter. There's kids that just something clicks, you know. I try to tell, especially in all my days when I do driver coaching and stuff like that, that it's not a linear curve when a driver develops, especially in kids. It's very rarely you have most of the time you have a lot of plateaus. and then a spike. You know, and there could be one of those kids that maybe didn't make a whole lot of noise in 2021, but for whatever reason, it just clicks here this weekend, and that's always the coolest thing to see when they get that first breakout result.
And the thing about Homestead is there's always such good local drivers down here, people that know this track. They're on it all the time. They can be on it all the time because the track's open, all year round, where somebody potentially up in Wisconsin or Illinois, Indiana, they can't be on their tracks all the time. So every time we come down here, you'll see all the national drivers from around the country intermixed with some really, really good local talent.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the surface here, for whatever reason, again, we talk about it all the way up to classes, that the locals here seem to be able to fare better than some other racetracks against the national level talent. I got to come down here for the Sunshine State Regional, got to see a lot of locals, and there were, again, even a couple kids that had started racing micro mid-summer 2021 that were right up at the front of the micro field there. On a regional level, obviously, it's not the same as where we are now here with the national level, but I would not be surprised to see some of that local Florida talent here really shining for the first time on a big stage here today when we get ready for qualifying.
A little bit of a delay right now. We'll have our Micro Swift drivers out for qualifying momentarily. So, Xander, let's you and I talk about some of the big stories for this particular weekend. How about the absence of Ryan Norberg? He's here working with the team, but we're not going to see him in a kart this weekend. The first time in how many years he hasn't been part of the Winter Series.
Right. I mean, it's the first time in 4 seasons we're going to have a different X30 Pro Senior champion for the Winter Series. He won it for the last 3 seasons ongoing. I talked with Ryan, actually got dinner with him earlier this week, and he's like, you know what, obviously you already covered it as well. He's running a full regular season. He's going to be back for the SKUSA Pro Tour. He's going to defend his U.S. Pro Kart Series title. He'll run the Vegas events. He'll run the IME Grands. And, who knows? Again, you mentioned he's eyeing up a shifter program maybe when we go to Orlando Kart Center for the Winter Tour Rock. I mean, he's keeping his eye on it. He's definitely going to be in the seat. And who knows? Maybe we can try and tempt him to come over here in the broadcast booth sometime later this weekend.
Very nice, folks. We're getting ready to roll here now. Micro Swift drivers coming out. We're going to go to some quick messages when we get back. Qualifying for Micro Swift.
USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parolin Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParolinUSA.com. If you're looking for top-grade equipment, look no further than Rev Performance Materials engine mounts, sprockets, and arcade chains. Available online now at RevPerformanceMaterials.com and through a dealer near you. The highest quality material, built to the highest quality standards. Rev Performance Materials.
Welcome back to live coverage here on Kart Chaser, the first official session for this year's SuperKarts USA Winter Series. Micro Swift on the racetrack. My name's Rob Haddon, joined here by Kart Chasers Xander Clements, Trinity Karting Group, the sponsor of the Micro Swift class. A couple of laps in the books here. Xander will give them some time to build some heat into these tires, these Avinco tires. Obviously a little cooler than we expected, but as you said, with all the weather that we had, all the rain that we had, this track has lost all the grip that we had built from yesterday and throughout this week's practice section. So we'll see which drivers start to step it up as we start to finally get some heat into the tires.
Right. I mean, not only that, this week's practice sessions, but the entire test weekend from last weekend here. Again, as you mentioned, Rob, where drivers can come out 4 days a week, along with private testing if they want, as many as 7 days a week here to come and turn laps at AMR Motorplex without rental cars because they have a separate rental car facility here. So the track builds up a lot of natural rubber. And again, as you mentioned, heavy rain overnight, and this morning completely washed it all out, so way different racetrack. And what a turnout here. We don't know any driver that could really stand out, but there are a lot that very well could, because there are 37 micro slips, which is obviously very, very healthy for the sport. Awesome to see.
And as an announcer, you'll back me up on this. It's always interesting because there's so many drivers we haven't seen before. So if we butcher any names here to start this weekend off because you're potentially new to the program, feel free to come and fill us in. We'd love to make sure we pronounce the names correctly. Couple laps in right now, and it looks like Justin De La Cia up top right now with a 60.597. Fast lap we see so far. Jackson Porter into the second spot. Luke Giglio into third. Eli Steinbrook in fourth, and Bowen Green now rounding out your current Fast Five.
Right, again, as we were talking here, a couple kids that are going to be moving up the order with some of the top of the lead pack moving out. Luke Giglio's had some good runs throughout 2021. It was near the midfield, had a heat race wreck at Supernats. Bowen Green as well, another driver that's now looking on his sophomore micro season. Again, that's what you talked about. Year 2, year 3, that's when they seem to figure it out. The nerves are gone away, especially if you've already been to all the racetracks before and racing at those events before. You know, because when you come to an event like this, 225 entries here at Supercars USA Winter Series Round 1, it's daunting.
Well, the thing, too, like I say, the drivers that stand out and win races, they had that year or two where they didn't run in the top 5. Maybe they were running in the top 10. So every year, as drivers graduate up, another driver gets an opportunity to kind of step to the forefront, step into the spotlight their year to be able to win some races and potentially challenge for championships.
Yeah, we're already seeing quite a few drivers here that have spun on screen right just there for a moment with the number 97 of Stephanie Miller, but already checkered flag coming here. Now, for all these classes, as big as they are divided in 2 groups. So again, we're watching the first group, which was their bottom half from final practice from happy hour yesterday. So they're going to come across the line here, complete their session, begun here with the number 52, and that is Eli Steinbrook in the PK Sports North America Paralyn chassis, headed down through turn number 1. Checkered flag, of course, led by Aaron Likens, the SKUSA head flagger. Man, he does obviously a great job every single time. It's great that we got him on camera here this year.
Yeah, you think about this. Is this Aaron Likens? He's been the SuperCarts USA national starter for over 10 years. He's also the starter for the IndyCar program as well. Flagged the Indianapolis 500 last year, so we've got a dignitary here on the flags for sure. You had mentioned Steinbrook. He ends up P4 after his session. Jackson Porter with the fastest lap time, 58.389. Porter setting the provisional pole time, but as you had mentioned, the faster drivers from yesterday afternoon's session, they're the ones that are going to come out next. We expect to see a lot of speed out of them.
Yeah, definitely. And again, there's still a lot of names in that group. Jackson Gibson's a driver who started to have a breakout year at the end of 2021 over the summer with RPG, so he's in the fast group. Sammy Martinez was one of the local drivers I mentioned, just started racing in 2021, was at the top 4, battling it out in about a 20-plus kart mini field on the micro field on the regional level here at SSKC.
That's awesome.
So that's one I've got my personal eye on. Rocco Simone, big-time win in Daytona Kart Week.
Yep.
So he could be another one. Again, there's so many drivers that could be quick. We couldn't even we filled up the whole qualifying session listing them.
Well, listen, you're early in your announcing career, Xander. This is how I feel old. So Rocco Simone is from Ontario, lives now down in Tampa. Mm-hmm. I used to cover his father, Anthony, when he was a cadet karter back in Ontario. So,
oh, man.
Yeah, I'm into the second generation now, and it's exciting. But, yeah, he's super quick as well. Like you said, was very strong in Daytona. I want to keep an eye on Ashton Woon as well on the Nitro kart. I think he'll be good. Alessandro Truchot for Paralyn USA. There's a couple of drivers that we expect, I think, to see running up front.
Oh, without a doubt here. Truchot, his second micro season as well. Yep. Both drivers that were impressive. Truchot especially super impressive in 2021. He's not borderline on age about moving up. They were just borderline. They thought their results were decent enough. We could probably do okay in mini, but he is
and I always want them to stay.
Young.
I always want them to stay. Give your driver the opportunity to stay that next year. Even though you think they could move up, keep them for that year so they learn how to win races. They learn how to battle for championships. That's part of the career, the development ladder, in my opinion, is being able to learn not just how to drive, but also learn how to win, how to lead a championship, how to lose that lead, and then fight back for it as well. I think that's something that Ryan Norberg would tell you for sure. You got to learn all the ins and outs of trying to battle for a championship.
Oh, it's massive. Battling for a championship and even battling for race wins.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big step, and it doesn't look like it because it's 1 or 2 positions to go from consistently finishing second or third to sealing the deal and out battling everyone. And as we watch down the backstretch here, they were sent out in order from final happy hour results. So you're seeing on your screen Alessandro Truchot
and Benja Fernandez, two locals here. Both of them grown up here in Miami, Florida, racing against each other here at AMR Motorplex since kid kart. And the rest of the field cycling on by. You see that new grass section we were talking about in that early segment. Already got some standing water, a little bit of mud there, so definitely don't want to go off in the final corner.
And that's something we're going to watch. Driver going off right there. We actually saw Sebastian Weldon get into the wall here in warm-up, do that same thing, getting off into that grass. It's not an area where you used to be able to carry so much speed through the corner. If you went wide, you were fine. With that grass, though, you're going to lose control of the kart. You have to keep it on the racing surface. And those rumbles, they're aggressive rumbles, as you had talked about.
They are, especially, again, down by turn number 1. It doesn't necessarily look like it kind of bows down, but it really does. So over there, it'll hold even more water in the center of that 10-foot wide patch over down by turn number 1. We'll get a closer angle on that as we go through the show and continue to show you guys around the racetrack here. Down the backstretch this time to put the first lap in the books. Benja Fernandez passed Alessandro Truccio very quickly. Oh, and a little bit wide there across the line. Woo, sending it deep. But hey, you know what? He kept all four wheels going. He'll clean them off. He'll be all right.
Yeah, I always say you don't know where the edge is until you drive over it, right? So he's definitely pushing Fernandez on it. Another driver getting a little wide. Yeah, we're getting somebody hit the barriers here a bit.
That is Mikey Collins, I believe, in the number 30. Oh, no, that's 23. One of the 23 Trinity Karting Group entries.
The 23 going around. Still Jackson Porter P1. That was Kai Mars. Coming out of the final corner, and he's not happy with that at all. Obviously not able to get a time in going across the barrier, actually losing the chain off that machine as well. So a little bit of trouble there for Mars and the Trinity Karting Group Kart Republic machine. Mars will come in here. Jackson Porter still with the quickest time so far of 58.389. Benja Fernandez, you talked about him, first driver out of the racetrack in the number 12, able to go P2. So the fastest of the group so far, just starting to build some heat in the tires, Xander. 59.086 for Fernandez.
Yep, and here they come across the line for lap number 2. A lot more put together for Fernandez, 58.719. Impressive that Jackson Porter's lap time has held up. Drew Waltz jumps up. Julian Rivera is up there. He's still yet to put his second lap in. He's a little further down the grouping. Alessandro Truccio again up into the top 5. Ashton Woon has jumped up. And they've still got at least 2 more laps if they're going to get the same number that the first group got here in qualifying. So we'll keep our eye on all of them as, again, the track is still overcast, but no more rain. So right now that second group still does have the advantage as we got one more that's just tagged the barrier here on the front stretch. That is the 34 machine, one of the other Kart Republic entries on the field.
Xander and I scrolling through Race Hero here to try to find it.
There's just so many new faces, obviously. You're trying to identify who you've got. Because there's just so many different names here. Oh, that is Julian Rivera. That was your driver in 4th. We were looking a little bit further down. So that is the driver who has clocked in the 4th quickest time. And is now not going to be able to improve on that. But that's still a solid run. Hoping it'll hold here for the final 2.
Yeah, he only got the 2 laps in, Xander. Yeah. You talked about it. Does Alessandro Truccio for Parolin USA now goes P1. 57.441 right now for Truccio. Fernandez still second. Ashton Woon up into the 3rd spot. Driver out of Arizona goes P3. Drew Waltz in 4th. Jackson Porter, fastest of the first group, holding on to P5 as the second group continues to circulate.
Yeah, the second group continue to work their way around. The checkered flag should be coming here very, very soon, of course, as they get to the final few laps. It looks like everyone's on slick tires, and again, I think that's why some of these guys, when they tag the outside curbs, we noticed another thing during that SSKC event that also got some rain is these outside curbs, the divots are deep enough, they do hold the water. Like I mentioned, The water sits on the surface. It goes just even a couple inches down, so even though the track may be dry, you touch a wheel, you're going through a puddle on the outside curbing.
And there's nothing worse than water on paint.
Right.
Except for maybe water on the oily surface. But on that paint, it gets super, super slippery. Checker flag flying here at start finish. Aaron Likens will give him the black and white to cap off the session. Alessandro Truccio still P1, 57.036. But everybody, the tires as hot as they could be throughout this session. We'll see if anybody can pull one out here on lap 4.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it here as the checkered flag flies and they come across. There is Mateus Romalo jumping up the order. Truccio's lap still holding. Final few drivers.
Royce Vega went quicker as well to P5.
Yeah, you're right. So change in the end of the top 5, but Truccio's lap number 4, soon to be enough to hold here for the moment.
Final drivers coming around. I believe that will be it. No, we got drivers still rolling around here. They'll get their final session. No, this will be the last lap. They're done. So indeed, Alessandro Truchot for Parolin USA going to come out with the P1 time. 57.036 for Truchot. A 57.616 for Benya Fernandez. His fast lap coming like everybody on lap number 4, final circuit. Ashton Woon in the 3rd spot. Mateus Ramalho in 4th. Royce Vega rounding out the top 5.
Yeah, and a closely packed middle group there, but hey, very impressive for Truchot to put half a second on them here in these intermediate conditions. Kudos to him and the Parolin USA team. Of course, we're going to take another commercial break. When we come back, qualifying continues to roll on. The next class out on the racetrack, your KA100 Juniors, the first of the 100cc drivers to head to the circuit here. Live from Miami on Kart Chaser and the ECAN Radio Network, it is round 1 of the SuperKarts USA Winter Series. Kart Store USA is a kart parts supplier that racers and retailers can count on when they need reliable advice and service. We focus on servicing all racers with honesty and pride while maintaining customer satisfaction. We carry a full stock of Kart Republic and Tony Kart chassis, as well as IAMI and Vortex Rock engines. We've also got a host of other parts available and in stock, such as products from Rev Performance Materials, Jekko Racing Seats, and more. We have a 100% satisfaction guarantee, and on top of that, if your order exceeds $200, shipping is on us. Check out all we have to offer today by visiting us online at kartstore-usa.com.
Welcome back to live coverage of the SuperKarts USA Winter Series here on Kart Chaser. Rob Howden alongside Xander Clements. Xander, we got the first one in the books, man. Microswift got both of their sessions done. Nice job for Alessandro Truchot. KA100 Junior up next. I'm really excited for the KA100 category. This track, just the way it races, I think plays so good to KA.
Oh, man, we've seen some amazing battles here in KA100 over the few seasons it's had, and, of course, the coolest part is every single year that class has been growing here in Florida, because Florida was one of the last places that got the 100cc power plant, and now the reason why it looks like we may be in a holding pattern on the grid, the rain has just picked up just a little bit here again, a classic Florida sun shower here in South Florida, and again, they've got the motors fired, they've got the 1 minute signal, so I don't think they'll hold them, but right as the track was getting to dry and the drivers started to feel comfortable, we get the rain out here, and now it's going to be a little bit crazy. But the green flag's coming. We're going.
Yeah, and they're all rolling out, remember, on Sticker Avinco tires. Brand new tires for qualifying, rolling out on the racetrack now. KA100 Junior. You know, the interesting thing about this now is if this rain continues, that first or second lap could be the best laps they have. They're going to have to get right at it early here, and away they go. Drivers rolling out onto the racing surface to get things underway. Again, KA100 Junior, brought to you by Team Bennick. I believe 21 drivers in total set to go here. But again, Xander, how much different is this for them? They can see them kind of tiptoeing around here right now. Sticker tires, cold tires, wet racetrack in some particular areas. One driver just drove through the puddle on the outside of turn number 5. You got to be very smart here in the opening couple of circuits.
Yeah, we saw a couple there going through again. Right this section we've got on camera is the part that's tricky. And then if you look at the back part of the racetrack, you know, they're used to being able to have that curbing on the outside to kind of warm it. And as we see coming down the backstretch, Caleb Gaffera in view. He was warming the tires up. I got to imagine he probably dropped the wheel on the outside curb. He got a little water on him. So everybody trying to not only build heat, but at least get them back dried off before they get down into the corner.
Well, you can see Caleb literally rolled into that final corner, had all that wheel in it, and the thing just did not want to turn. Obviously got off, as you said. The tires were pretty wet. I think he may have been the driver that went through the water coming through turn number 5 there in the double apex right-hander on the infield part of the racetrack. Gaffera's the first driver out. He's got lots of room. We'll see if he's able to get some heat into those tires in the Rawlson Performance Group Cosmic.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, you want to talk about Florida locals that should be impressive. The second driver out in the line is Stephen Miller, and he's in the Chad Dawkin Racing entry, was just ahead of that one group on screen we were focusing on, and we'll keep on cycling around, giving you guys some of the different angles now as we got more and more coming online here. And just like that, just as the shower came in, it's still kind of sprinkling. The sun is right back out here. It's weird, actually. I don't know if I've ever seen this. We've got overcast on about turn 1 to 4 and completely sun out here down the back straightaway.
Different parts of this racetrack getting different amounts of sun right now. A little rain, as we talked about. The sprinkles still happening here trackside. A ton of rain earlier today, and you're seeing a lot of that from the pictures we've got here on Kart Chaser. You can see the outside of the final corner of this racetrack. You see the grass that they put in. Drivers doing their best to keep themselves into position there. One driver having some trouble. One of the Trinity Karting Group drivers in the number 581 going off track, trying to get back on here.
Looks like maybe Mateo Naranjo in the 851 there, TKG KR. So that's another one of your second-year junior drivers just going a little bit wide, but he kind of backed that thing in, which is about the best thing you can do, obviously. The rear of the cart a little bit stronger than the front end of the cart, and if you slowly back it into the barriers, it doesn't seem to really bend up too much, so he's going to get a shot.
And how about one of the things we'll talk about here? We got some time as the drivers start to get some speed built in and some heat into the tires. Xander, the pushback bumper gone with Superkarts USA. I think a key component of what we're going to see once we go racing later today.
Oh, massive. I mean, these starts, especially if this track is damp like this or continues to be slicked off, it's going to be very hairy down by turn number 1, with or without pushbacks. As we saw Stephen Miller that time by, came across the line, got a little bit wide.
Caleb Gaffera, fastest driver on the racetrack right now, a 57.838 for Caleb Gaffera. Max Taylor's moved up into the second spot, make that Max Schweid now. And then Jake Giordano, Max Taylor, and Valentino Garbarino rounding out the early Fast 5. 2 laps in. We expect 4 or 5 laps throughout the session. What we saw in Micro, Xander, last lap is going to be the best. Every one of these drivers, when they get to that final circuit, they got to put in the lap of the life there.
Right, and it just comes down to a matter of confidence, a matter of slick tires. And I think I jinxed it here. It looked for a second like the rain was coming off. I can see it coming back up again. We just saw one driver spin down in turn number 5. There's another one. Max Schweid going around. So we'll continue to try and find some of the quicker ones that have been able to at least keep all 4 wheels pointed. Maybe catch someone on the middle of a hot lap or so, as we've got one group here coming into the final corner. And that looks to be led by one of the RPM Tony karts, the 804.
Garbarino.
Valentino, yeah.
Garbarino leading that next group. You can see here's the run down to the straightaway into that corner. Drivers rolling across the line. 821, one of those drivers getting a good lap there. That's Anthony Rivera. He bumps himself up into the top 12, so Rivera goes to 12. Still Gaffera on top, though, by 1.2 seconds over Austin Jers in the 803. Jers fast time, a 57.242. Gaffera down to a 56 flat.
Yeah, Caleb Gaffera, if we could switch over to him onto the screen. He is headed through turns 10 and 11, all by himself here. Again, he went out first, had no one to gauge the racetrack off of. Some of these other drivers that are running quick times, they're not drafting together, but really they're at least able to use the other as a marker of whether or not to go in deeper. And he looks a lot more controlled this time coming across the line. That looked like a good lap.
Very similar, back-to-back 56 flat to the 56.046 that last time by. Lap 3 is best at 56.000. So Gaffera now half a second quicker. Stephen Miller, the local driver, as you had mentioned, for Chad Dawkin Racing, the 873, despite going off a lap before, ends up going to P2. Luke Welcome, a winner last year, now into P3.
Yeah, we're watching this final corner here as everyone comes on by because the checkered flag has just come out here for this session. We'll see if anyone pushes a little bit too hard. Only a handful more drivers still to come. Gaffera's time so far holding strong, as you mentioned, over Miller. It is Luke Welcome, another local there in third. Austin Jers looking for what could be a swan song in junior before moving up to senior in 2023. Strong start to his year. And Mateo Naranjo, a driver who went around here in the first lap, jumps up to second.
Nice job for Naranjo. Excellent work for him. And I think really interesting, you're seeing the difficulty of this racetrack right now when we got guys going quicker. Caleb Gaffera just dropped to 54.189, 2.2 seconds faster than everyone else. You know what? He was able to get out early. The only driver able to do 5 laps on the racetrack was Gaffera. first onto the racetrack, hit it hard, was quick. He got that 5th lap. Tires got really warm for Caleb Gaffera. What a great call for him.
Man, that's a lot of confidence there for Caleb Gaffera going into the pre-finals. Of course, track will be a little bit different, but it feels good with that kind of a whomping on the field, you know?
But you mentioned Naranjo, who went off in turn number 12 here, able to turn a good lap here in his 4th lap, a 56.454. He ends up 2nd. Stephen Miller 3rd. Luke Welcome 4th, and Austin Jers 5th. Throw out the fact that Gaffera was able to get that 5th lap and just was able to sneak under the checker. So really warm Iveco tires. But you look, it is, a second separating Naranjo in 2nd all the way back to Reagan Savell and Valentino Garbarino in 10th. That shows you how tough this racetrack is. Normally, all 22 drivers on a dry track could have been separated by 1 second. Just 2nd now to 10th by 1 second because it is a very challenging surface for these young drivers.
Well, again, we're going to let them clear the racetrack up, continue to tune on it here as we get set. We'll come back from commercial break here. More classes still to come. 2 down here, plenty more to go. Move up 1 age group here, the KA100 Seniors. Again, a massive group in that one, and a few of your junior stars from 2021 moving up to it. Stick with us, folks, here live on YouTube and Facebook for the Kart Chaser live stream of the Superkarts USA Winter Series round number 1. We return live from Homestead-Miami.
I'm David Serra, 18-time Australian karting champion, and we're launching Kart Class. Kart Class is an advanced digital training program that suits a driver who's just starting out in the sport, all the way to the driver looking to win a national championship. In this program, you're going to be learning about how to find the ideal racing line and what an apex is, braking and throttle markers, wet weather racing lines, and how to overtake other competitors. We target how to brake in the wet weather, and we look on the mental side of kart racing as well with our mental skills coach. At the completion of this program, you'll be lighting up purple sectors in qualifying, know when to defend on the opening laps, and how to pressure your opposition into mistakes. We teach you the tools to be resilient and how to get in the right frame of mind before a race. We look to complete the whole package by getting a strong mindset, a driving style to suit all conditions, strategizing your race, and getting the last 1% from your team. We'll teach you how to win the final lap of a race, driving the wet like Max Verstappen, and creating the perfect bubble for yourself to mentally be in the zone. To find out more, click the link below.
Welcome back to live coverage of the 2022 Superkarts USA Winter Series opener here from Homestead. Rob Howden alongside Xander Clemens. First couple of categories in the books. We just saw a tremendous run for Caleb Gaffera in KA100 Junior. Good strategy, getting out early, pushing really hard to make sure he was able to get that 5th lap in. Just snuck under the checkered flag to be able to get that one more circuit. Those Iveco tires kept getting warmer and warmer. He was 2.2 seconds faster, Xander. That was a solid strategy to get out front.
No, that was wild. And again, as you mentioned, solid strategy to get out front. Now they seem to be releasing them roughly in the order from happy hour from what I can tell. So the way that they're lined up, which again, K100 Senior, we're not seeing the whole group on the racetrack right now. It is one of those classes big enough they have divided them into 2. So we're seeing the first group, which is your bottom half of the field, front straight away.
That'll be the 948, the first driver to come across the lines. Again, we're getting things dialed in here. 26 drivers in total. Gavin Bailiff, first driver across the line. Gavin, of course, coming off a big win in KA100 at the WKA Kart Week event, the Manufacturers Cup race at the Daytona Motor Speedway.
Yeah, Gavin's been working on his 100cc program over the last year. He started to dabble a little bit more in X30 once again. His brother, obviously Finnegan, his older brother, has been a lot more time in the X30 class. But for Gavin, this could be the year where he's like, all right, I've podiumed a little bit. He's had a little bit of hardware. Obviously came out swinging. He got a win in Daytona. That's a big boost of confidence. If he could come out here, not only get onto the box, maybe score a win in one of these 4 rounds of SKUSA Winter Series, that's a great way to set the tone for 22.
Yeah, we spoke with both Gavin and Finnegan Bailiff last night, and that's what he said. They're focusing on the KA 100 this year, right? They're going to do a lot of KA 100 racing. That win in Daytona is big. You come out here to the Winter Series race and knock a couple out as well. You think about that Pro Tour title. I like what they're doing with Trinity, and again, Gavin Bailiff out of the gate as the quickest driver thus far. But again, as Xander, you said, splitting it in half. Gavin obviously not in the fast part of the group yesterday in that final practice session, happy hour session. But again, that session had a bit of rain. It was wet and drying. Things were changing, of course, throughout the afternoon.
Right, and it's a lot of like that kind of crawl, walk, run strategy when it comes to like moving up classes or going all out on the program. Trinity's been around for quite a few years. They've only really started to make a national push in the last couple seasons where they've been able to do a full year. And they were like, you know what, here, we'll start in the 100cc stuff. We'll figure that out. We'll figure out how to tune our go-karts out where we can be consistent every single week and then start dabbling. And now, of course, with the addition of Thomas Naveau to the team in the X30 class, I mean, they were super impressive in Las Vegas with both him and Danny Curl. And Thomas back here again with the SKUSA Winter Series. But the whole team as a whole has moved up and consistently improved. And now on screen here, we are watching Cole Morgan, your reigning SKUSA Pro Tour National Champion, who I don't believe he went out for a final happy hour in the rain, which is probably why he is here in the first group.
Exactly that. Some number of drivers electing not to take the track in happy hour because of the wet track. So they're locked into the second group. So we're going to see, I think, more of a mashup. It's not going to be the second group comes out and just blows through everybody early. I think a lot of fast guys are going to be in this group here as well. We'll watch them work their way to the front. And I will say this, AM Engines are sponsor of the KA 100 Senior category. And again, folks, you're watching live coverage here of the Winter Series on Kart Tracer. Proud to be part of the action here alongside Xander Clements. It's been a while since Xander and I got a chance to work together, but this should be a fantastic weekend.
Yeah, if we go all the way back, that was SKUSA Supernats 2017, I believe.
That's it.
Yeah,
a number of years ago, for sure.
Quite a ways back, man. It's
drivers getting a feel for this here right now. Qualifying underway.
Bailiff's time so far still holding right now for me here at a 53.138, 4 laps in, so they're probably going to get one more all in all by the line before the checkered flag comes out here. Aaron Likens is warming it up. We had one driver go off there at turn number 1. That was one of the core karting entries. Not sure who was off there in the first corner. It might have been Drew Chappell in the 972, but the checkered flag coming out now as we'll watch the last few drivers work their way around. Here, Luis Colamodio was just on the screen here, go across the line. That's Gia Cicero, 13th at a 56.059, but only 2 laps in. I think she may have had an issue here early in the session.
Potentially a spin for Cicero. Gavin Bailiff still on top, purple with a 53.138 provisional pole time. Aaron Likens throwing that checker. Gavin comes across the line, goes a bit quicker once again. Xander, a 52.912, just over a tenth quicker than the driver right behind him. Then we got Drew Chappell, Kieran Rogers, and Alec Dancho rounding out. Oh, Dancho jumping up to P3. Colamodio still P2.
Yeah, last run there for Alex Dancho. Luis Colamodio in the 929 Tony Kart, one of the T1D racing entries, I believe, on the OTK. That's a local driver as well. Again, we talked about the local talent able to really jump up a lot higher here than some of the other tracks we go to, and just again how strong this local club is. They were averaging nearly 150 entries throughout the second half of 2021, which is awesome to see.
And hence your smooth delivery of the last name as well, right?
Yes, Colamodio. Colamodio.
You've got that one already parked in the vernacular.
Just a little bit to get through.
Good for you.
Yeah, we of course, though, again, this doesn't mean Bailiff's on pole. We've still got the second group to come on the racetrack, but there were some heavy hitters, and Cole Morgan again seemed to struggle a little bit throughout that session. 54.178 is best, 1.2 off Gavin Bailiff. So for the reigning national champ here, he's got a little bit of digging to do, it looks like, when we get to the pre-final.
And Supernat's pole sitter as well. Remember how good he was in K100 out in Las Vegas? You figured that momentum would roll through. Not quite the speed for Morgan. He ends up 1.2 seconds off it again, talking about how different this racetrack is, right? It's still starting to come back in. All that rubber that was laid down, the event last weekend, all the testing throughout the week, all that water essentially washing that away. So a green racetrack as we get set to see our second group come out. 13 in the first group, 13 more to come. No, actually more than that, because 32 we have down here. So we could have as many as 19 drivers in this next session to come out here.
Yeah, it could be quite a bit here. Again, there's
It looks like the rain has kind of gone away for the moment. Again, we say that. We always speak too soon. The sun's out. That doesn't mean anything of whether or not we're not going to get rain showers or if we're going to get it. But as you can see here on camera, as we pan around to different portions of the racetrack, there's still a lot of standing water just off to the side. You get pushed a little bit wide. You make a little mistake, and you've got water on slick tires, potentially in some of the painted sections, as you mentioned, that fresh paint over the curbing. Not the most grippy situation.
And that's what it comes down to. You nailed it, right? There's going to be a racing line, but you have to make sure your entry, your apex, your exit is perfect. You drop a wheel somewhere and you get into that moisture, then that's where you start losing some grip, especially early in the session when the tires aren't up to temperature yet. They just can't overcome when you get into that moisture, and it cools the tires off even more.
Yeah, no doubt. We just got the engines fired, though, here as they begin to make their way onto the racetrack, out of turn number 1 and over through 2 and 3 and into the back hairpin turn number 4. Obviously a bigger group, as you mentioned, Rob, here. This should be, I believe, our fast group from final practice, with the first few drivers being some of the quickest at the end. Of course, that was in the rain. Nick Terlecki, one of the quick ones out there. Connor Ferris has been very fast. And one of the other factors that was interesting when I was talking to some drivers is I was curious how much of that new curve that's basically almost 10 feet wide in turn number 1 drivers were going to use. And so I talked to Jeremy Fletcher and some of the other drivers, especially double dipping K and X30.
Agreed.
And they were like, I used to go out there, then pull the barriers up to the curb, so I didn't want to go that far, went about the middle. And then Connor Ferris was one of the guys, he was barely using the runoff and was super, super fast. So we'll see what the lines look like here again with a damp racetrack, but everyone on slicks seems to be back to a normal line, at least through the final corner and so on.
Drivers really exploring different parts of this racetrack, right? We had mentioned in the opener, it's a much different racetrack. You did the montage where you went out and took a look at the racetrack. There's so much difference for these drivers. What is going to be fast? And there's lots of great drivers here to watch. You mentioned Terlecki. Look at guys like Connor Ferris, Tyler Wettengale, of course, Jeremy Fletcher, who has been amazing already in his first couple of races as a senior. This guy comes out of a double win in the junior categories of the Super Nationals. He ends up being a guy to watch here in senior all weekend long.
Yeah, for sure. So as, again, the drivers work their way around the racetrack here, heading over through turns 9, 10, 11, and 12. They'll head down the backstretch here. Terlecki, I can see them popping the curbs here from the far, far side of the racetrack. And as they'll come down the final corner here for KA100 Senior Qualifying, Terlecki again pops it in the final turn. So they definitely have been, I think Nikita Panaris going really wide here through the final corner, getting a little bit sideways in the 904. Let Aiden Levy go on by.
Hey, how about Jeremy Fletcher going P7, Nicholas Terlecki P9 on their opening lap, the out lap. So good speed already. They're still a ways back, 1.2 seconds from what is now the provisional pole time of 52.919 for Gavin Bailiff. We'll say this, Xander, like you mentioned, we have clouds to the south, clouds to the north. We got direct sunshine on the racetrack right now. The temperature of the asphalt, the actual racing surface, is going to start going up a lot quicker with that direct sunlight.
Yeah, it's going to quickly heat up. It'll quickly dry the racetrack here. Again, I think by the time we get to that X30 Master and X30 Senior Qualifying session, we'll be fully onto the slick tires, maybe even before that for the X30 Juniors, with some of these classes having multiple groups. Obviously, one of that for the Pro Master shifted. There'll be a single combined group with an X30 Junior divided in two. And that's also, of course, a huge benefit to the drivers that did put their rain equipment on yesterday to go run in happy hour with a drying racetrack. That second group out, the final group, gets a better racetrack, a little more grip.
That's exactly that. This track's going to continue to change throughout the day. Fletcher's gone to P1, a 52.823 for Jeremy Fletcher in that number 922 machine. The Tony Kart driver out front right now, just under a tenth of a second quicker than Gavin Bailiff, but that happened on his second lap, not his fifth like Bailiff.
Yeah, so he's still got plenty of time to continue to work on that, find a little bit more speed, get going a little bit quicker. So we'll wait to see what more we can find from Jeremy Fletcher. Of course, one of the many impressive rookies joining the senior ranks here in 2022. Already was topping the boards through a lot of the practice sessions yesterday afternoon. And he's in the middle of a group right now that just went by the start-finish line as we'll focus on, I believe, one of the TKG entries, if that is Panaris, and it is. That's right at the end. Or no, that is Finnegan Bailiff there in the 949 that just came across the line there. So We'll continue to pan around, find more drivers to follow as Terlecki, your newest driver, on top of the boards, and Nick Bruckner joining him up there as well.
Wow, good lap there for Terlecki at 52.016. I mentioned Finnegan Bailiff. He's 20th right now. He'll have to find a little bit more here. But again, quicker and quicker as the session goes on. Drivers getting 5 laps in that first session. We're only working lap number 3. Actually, lap 4 now for Terlecki. Driver in the number 998, a 52.016 for Terlecki. As again, he rolls it back out here onto the front straightaway in that Merlin machine. Terlecki 52.016. How about 51.918? Chopped another tenth of a second off.
Yeah, another bit quicker there, and this one just going to get nipped, though. Jeremy Fletcher across the line, 51.897 for Jeremy Fletcher in the 922 machine. And that one just quick enough. Aiden Rudolph, you mentioned there. That one jumps up, changes your top 5 once again here. More drivers hitting their stride in the final few laps.
Aiden Rudolph, his first ever senior race, and back as well with PSL karting on the Burrell Art machine. Got his dad, Alan Rudolph, the veteran, on the wrenches this weekend here. So Rudolph in his debut in the KA 100 senior category.
Yeah, as we watch them work their way down the back straightaway here once again, Nick Terlecki will come across the line to see the checkered flag this time. We're focused on Aiden Levy here on your screen. He's a little bit further down the order, but a lot of shuffling going to happen. Levy currently 11th through the final turn. A little bit sideways for the 990. Does he jump up on the final lap? He improves. He does not change positions. In fact, he got bumped back. A lot of drivers going quicker on the final lap. Terlecki improves. He jumps over Fletcher, and we'll let you read through the rest of them here, Rob.
Terlecki 51.530, goes just over a tenth of a second faster than Jeremy Fletcher in that P2 position. Connor Ferris in 3rd spot. Aiden Rudolph holding on to P4. Josh Holtz in the 5th spot. Nick Bruckner 6th. Colin Lloyd in 7th. Carson Morgan 8th. Peyton Phillips 9th. And Finnegan Bailiff, who's back in the 20th spot, improving over this final couple of laps. Xander, he ends up capping off the top 10.
Yeah, great run there for Finnegan Bailiff, who seemed to struggle a little bit early on in the session to at least have a good 4th lap that hangs on strong. And as your top 10 concludes there with KA 100 Senior, we'll take another commercial break here. Again, you're watching the SuperKarts USA Winter Series opening weekend here live on Kart Chaser on YouTube and Facebook from the AMR Homestead-Miami Motorplex presented by MG Tires. We'll be right back with our Mini Swift qualifying session.
USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parolin Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParolinUSA.com.
I'm Billy Vincent, owner of MPG Motorsports. What we do at MPG is we try to keep it a nice, fun family atmosphere, try to combine sort of the bigger things and of the bigger teams and the professionalism down with sort of some of the fun sort of family-oriented atmosphere. We try to not only develop drivers, but also the parents and the families for just in knowledge in general in motorsports. It all starts in karting. What we try to do is try to help the drivers, the moms, the dads understand the sport of motorsports in general, not just karting, but what it takes to get all the way up through. Whether you end up wanting to be a driver or a mechanic or an engineer, you know, we can help you with that, and that's what we're here for. If you're interested in joining us at MPG, our home base is at Whiteland Raceway Park in Indianapolis, and you can contact us at info@willpowerkart.com, and one of our great people will reach out to you, and we'll try to put the best program together.
extremely strong and contenders here right out of the gate in the Mini Swift class. I mean, Keelan Harvick, you mentioned Lucas Palacio. I mean, there are so many coming up there that could be big contenders. The Nitro Kart 10 always has a strong contingent of them, and they manage to be quick. You know, I mean, there's too many. Really, there is too many until we see them come out. But yeah, you mentioned the micro class from 2021 seems to be one of the stronger ones we've seen, and again, that's also part of the growth the sports scene, you know, in the micro divisions to develop that talent that way.
And how great is that, right? You know, we can look at the pro categories, but to be able to see big growth, over 70 drivers in the cadet categories of the micro and the mini here this weekend, that's that future. Those are the drivers you and I are going to be talking about for the next 10 years, right? So it's good to see that many great drivers in the program. Mini Swift brought to you today by D&J Intermodal Services. The drivers have taken to the racetrack in the first group 4 here in the Mini Swift category, and again, with so many drivers, as you had said, Xander, 39 in total, splitting the qualifying into 2 groups onto the racetrack.
Yeah, split into 2 groups here, and one big gaggle right now headed through turn number 5 as they try to find themselves some breathing room. With the sun coming out here, obviously we've already been on slicks for quite some time, but now we'll start to see them try and strategize, maybe prioritize getting around others versus running on their own, because you may not get held up as much. If the grip's there and we're going a little bit quicker, that draft's going to play more and more into effect here, especially in some of these smaller classes like this one.
And we have to expect as well that we'll get those 4 laps, but it's going to be a lot quicker from the get-go. A couple of drivers getting out here early, one of them being Keelan Harvick. He's out early out of the gate in this first group of drivers. Harvick making a move there into turn number 2. He wants to get out front. There you go. Immediately trying to get into open racetrack, and we saw this at the Super Nationals. Harvick went out and qualified all by himself. In a category like micro and mini where the draft can come into play and can help, especially on a track like this with a couple of long straightaways, Harvick by himself. He wants to get out there. He wants to put the laps down. There's Harvick right there in the Hunt Brothers Pizza Machine, the Nitro Kart driver for Harvick Racing. We'll see what he's able to do here in qualifying.
Yeah, we talk about a lot the transition of kind of going from being a big fish in a small pond to a small fish in a big pond here. In micro, you know, Keelan, especially by the second half of the season, you know, he was the dominant, the intimidator. He could be, get passed by 3 drivers in one corner, and he could pass them all right back, and then they wouldn't fight him again.
That's it.
He could fight, stay in the lead no matter what, and eventually they'd give way and be like, all right, it's Keelan. I'm going to follow him. You're going to assume he's fast. You're going to assume that he's, got the intimidation factor a little bit. That goes away when they get into mini, and so it's always interesting to see how the kids kind of figure their way around the playground almost of who's running the yard.
But he's coming off of a really good run, a couple of wins at Daytona, right? WKA Kart Week. But what happens when he gets here? This is for him, really, the Winter Series. He's got to make a mark early, right? He wants to come out, like you say, there's that little intimidation factor with a guy like Harvick who always wants to go to the lead, never wastes, always tries to take that lead. We'll see if it plays out again here in his first really foray into SuperKarts USA Mini Swift competition. If he has a strong weekend here, I think it's really going to set the tone for the rest of the 2022 season.
Yeah, no doubt about it here. So again, he's still in the first group, so that means the second group still to come. He's already pulled a massive gap back to Faith and Saradpa, nearly the entire back straightaway, back to the number 980, back to the 185 of Saradpa. They'll come by the stripe this time by Harvick to put his first lap in the books, and the rest of the field to do the same, just a little bit further down the racetrack. The sun continuing to shine. We're finally starting to see that maybe the clouds won't roll in, but there's dark stuff all around, and again, it's so close to the ocean here in South Florida. Stuff can blow in from every single direction. Yesterday, the rain came in from the south and a little bit from the east. Today came from the north. I mean, it circulates. You just never know. But at least right now, beautiful sunny skies here in southern South Florida.
Well, obviously, a big cell was kind of bearing down on us. Again, I talked to Eric Jones earlier, and he said, looks like it potentially could go to the north of us. So we'll cross our fingers that indeed happens, and we're able to have a clean rest of the day. Not surprising, Keelan Harvick has gone P1 at 55.375, about 0.7 of a second quicker than Ty Fisher. Jackson Tobo now P3, Tristan Murphy in 4th, and Ethan Tobo in 5th. There's a bunch of drivers right there for them. We saw move up from the Micro Swift category that are going to be strong here this weekend as well. This is the slower group from yesterday, but we'll see how their times end up as you see a couple of drivers lining up behind the 131 of Ethan Tobo.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that works. It's basically the Micro Graduates qualifying group that we've got on the racetrack right now. With all of them. Again, Tristan Murphy, obviously super impressive end to 2021 as well. And so great to see Tristan here. Ian Homestead battling. The Tovo brothers were impressive. Ethan was right there with Keelan the entire way for most of the Super Sunday final. And all of them roughly in a group together except for Harvick. He's all on his lonesome way out in front. But then we go back to the Tovo brothers. They're middle of this group here. One of them leading the way, the other one about a midway through on back. and it's about maybe 5 or 6 drivers deep here in this single file train.
Yeah, Ethan Tovo in that number 113 qualified on the pole at the Super Nationals in Las Vegas in early December. Was able to pip Harvick for that top spot, but they battled, like you said, Xander, tooth and nail throughout the entire Super Nationals. Harvick, of course, coming away with the win, but there is Tovo across the line right there. He currently sits in the 5th position as Carson Weinberg, who's right in there with Tovo, jumps to P2. Weinberg back by just 0.3 of a second now in the 187. Checkered flag going to fly. The session, of course, only getting 4 laps for the slower karts. Harvick, a 54.704. He might have slipped through like Gaffera did. He may get one more lap.
Yeah, he might get lucky with that one there, and especially as they all were battling. I believe, no, they've already gotten the checkers you mentioned. So Harvick, like you said, going to get one more.
Yeah, does he get that? We'll see. He's way out front. He's significantly out front of everybody else. Not sure whether or not he gets one more. Does he even need it? 54.704.
Yeah, I mean, he seems safe right now, but we'll see if that checkered flag does come, and it will. So checkered flag on lap number 5 for Keelan Harvick. Checkered flag going to come for this group back here, but they were passing that lap. Ethan Tovo got shuffled back a little bit.
So I think half the field getting the checker, the rest coming through to get one more lap. Carson Weinberg taking full advantage of it. Weinberg goes P1. 54.375 for Weinberg. Like I said, half the field, not even half the field, able to come back through for one more, but Weinberg taking full advantage of it. How about 72 thousandths of a second, the separation between Weinberg and the 187. He's your pole sitter, Harvick, in second, provisional pole rather for Weinberg. Harvick in second. We'll see what kind of position those times equate to when the second group gets ready to roll here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a heck of a shocker right there at the end of the qualifying session. Carson Weinberg's been a contender in mini. He's now finally one of the veterans in the class, with some of the other ones moving up to junior this year. But to rip that one out, to be where he was going into the final lap and then to go to the top of the boards, impressive, of course. But that's still only Group 1.
Yeah.
We've got Group 2 to come.
Yeah, look who's coming, right?
Massive class in total.
Pro Tour champion Gia Matteo Rosso. You've got Oliver Weldon. Lucas Palacios looks super good here. Salvador Della Vecchia as well. Jensen Burnett, Asher Oxteen going to come out here as well. There's just a ton of drivers. Sarah Bradley's been strong. Max Christia. There's a bunch of really good drivers still to come out here. Provisional pole time, Carson Weinberg 54.375. Keelan Harvick 54.447. We'll see where those times slot them in after this next group heads to the racetrack.
Yeah, we'll give them time here, as again they've already headed out onto the circuit, so we will switch on over, check them out as they work their way out of turn number 5 and through to turn number 7 and 8 for the first time on the outlap. Another big group, another situation where we've got one driver way out in front and the rest of the pack kind of tightly packed together. Lucas Palacio has gotten himself way away from the group here to start this session, and that was one of the micro standouts, of course. One of the younger drivers even into mini. He was young in micro. He's very young for mini, but P1 in final practice yesterday.
Yeah, the concept with Palacio was to keep him running against the best drivers they possibly could. He probably could have stayed in micro. He would have been a championship contender, but they want to move him up. He could spend 4 or 5 years in mini if he wants. The concept, though, is to keep him with the toughest competition possible to try to hone him the best they can.
Right, and it's hard to argue against that when you look at some of the younger drivers that have moved up early and challenged themselves to the nth degree. You know, Brent Cruz obviously comes to mind as someone who was super impressive in Pro Shifter in Las Vegas at the age of 13, not even 14 years old yet.
Well, and Xander, you can argue it until he goes P1 in a session, right? All of a sudden he's right there. You're like, hey, listen, the kid needs a chance to win races. Well, then he goes P1 in a practice session. You're like, oh, all right, well, potentially he's ready to go. So he has moved over to Trinity Karting Group on the Kart Republic, and I know Sean Bala very happy to have Lucas there. Again, Carson Weinberg up top as the fast driver right now at 54.375 for Weinberg. Keelan Harvick P2. Those are the drivers out of the gate, that opening session. We'll see what we get here for drivers as they finally start putting some laps down where they work their way up to here. And again, drivers to watch, Palacio being one of them. Of course, last year's champion in the Pro Tour, Gia Matteo Rosso as well. A number of drivers we expect to fight themselves into contention. And again, just the opening round of this year's Winter Series live here on Kart Chaser. Carson Weinberg, Keelan Harvick, Tristan Murphy, Alexander Vanchev, and Roman McMurdy, the fast 5 of that initial group. Waiting to see which drivers strike first here in the second group of Mini Swift. Those you get watching live, of course, the Pro and Master Shifter class will be up next. Remainder of the rotation, X30 Junior, X30 Master, and we'll cap it off with X30 Senior. Of course, on a delay here to start the day, torrential rains early in the morning, flooding the racetrack, flooding the paddock. They did a tremendous job, the track crew, the SKUSA crew, to get this track race ready once again. We are working our way through qualifying, and you're not going to miss a lap here on Kart Chaser.
No, you will not here. And again, qualifying, we just saw Oliver Weldon make a pass there to give himself a little bit better track position. We'll pick him up coming out of turn number 4 right now, leading that group with Palacio and Salvador De La Vecchia right behind him. Here comes De La Vecchia to the inside, so they'll shuffle Palacio back, and that'll put him still in a great position because there's more help from behind. I believe Max Weiland there in the Magic Kart, back 4th in that group of 5. That's kind of your opening group. And Oliver Weldon now gets to set the pace for it. He's got about 4 to 5 kart lengths with one more lap still to come, if not 2. Salvador De La Vecchia, who is about 4 kart lengths back from Weldon starting this lap, he is in a prime position if he can put it together to throw down a heater.
Asher Augstein had gone to P1. This time it's Oliver Weldon. Augstein falling into second. Oliver Weldon, who hurt his wrist in an incident earlier this week, so running with that little sore wrist. 54.103. Weldon does not look to be affected at all by that sore wrist.
Right. No, we all saw that post there on his social media, and we thought maybe he might be on the DH list here.
That's what I thought.
The DL list before we came racing, but here he is on the racetrack right now. Provisional pole here for Mini Swift, presented by DNJ Intermodal Services. And we'll take a look here. I believe he's at least held the gap to Salvador De La Vecchia with that close shot. You can see De La Vecchia still not in view. They come out of turn number 9, go through the back 90s. And I don't know, I think Weldon still looks really strong here to put another lap or 2 to solidify himself as the pole contender. 7,000s right now to the good over Augstein. Let's see it. Final corner across the line. He does. Oh, what an improvement. That was half a second.
He got a lot right there. 53.656 for Weldon. De La Vecchia goes to P2, but he's 3/10 back. What a lap for Weldon. 53.656. The sun is shining here trackside. Clouds both to the north and the south of us. De La Vecchia P2. Augstein in the 3rd spot. Gabriel Balag in 4th. Carson Weinberg 5th. Luis Umana up into 6th. Keelan Harvick holding on to 7th. Not too bad for Harvick. Max Christie at 8th. Lucas Palacio 9th. And Devin Waltz rounding out the top 10.
Right, we talk about local drivers here. Salvador De La Vecchia, definitely not a local driver, but spends a lot of time running the club races here at AMR Homestead-Miami Motorplex. He's on your screen right now on the AM Racing Vengeance Parallel. And now as we switch over to the final checkered flag, we'll watch them come on through. Final corner, checkered flag in the air. Can De La Vecchia improve at all? I think the gap's about the same to Weldon. Across the line, Weldon 3.9, De La Vecchia 3.51.
I didn't think he was going to get another lap. A number of the drivers here getting a second lap. I thought we saw the checker. Indeed, we do not. Everybody getting one more, and De La Vecchia, as you said, goes 53.351, 400ths of a second. Big lap for Weldon on lap number 4, but he wasn't able to back. He went quicker still, but not that much quicker, and De La Vecchia able to hold on. What a good lap for De La Vecchia at the end of that session.
And that's one of those things that just bites you as a driver. If you're Oliver Weldon, you're like, man, I know I was the fastest one out there. Just gave a little bit of toe on that back straightaway and down the front stretch of De La Vecchia. You lose out by 400ths. You know how quick that can be.
What's really interesting, too, Xander, they're a half a second faster than Luis Amana, so this is potentially, you think about pre-final, do these two drivers hook up and pull away, being that much quicker than those behind them?
It's going to be interesting. Of course, Rob will hopefully have you back for that later on today. We are going to lose you from the booth here for a little bit. So, again, Rob Howden going to be coming back to join us. Our head announcer from today just has a little bit of business to take care of here before we come back.
Got to take a COVID test to get home to Canada, so I got to go get that done right now.
Yeah, but as soon as Rob gets back from his COVID test, so he doesn't get stuck down here in South Florida, which is not the worst place.
That would be the worst thing. No.
We'll go to commercial break. When we come back, Caleb Smock is going to be joining me here in the booth to call the rest of qualifying and into the first half of the pre-finals. Stick with us, folks. Again, you're watching the SuperKarts USA Winter Series, round number 1, live on Kart Chaser.
As the Western importer of the Praga and Formula K chassis brands, Leading Edge Motorsports is a high-performance kart shop and race team with a simple mission: teach others the joy of high-performance driving, supply our customers with the highest quality products and services, and most of all, win races. With our remarkable racing inventory, expert services, and top-ranked national-level team to back it up, we'll help to get your new kart racing package up and running fast. From arrive and drive service to kart preparation and driver coaching to the parts you need to get you back on the racetrack, Leading Edge Motorsports is the industry answer.
Welcome back here live from AMR Homestead-Miami Motorplex. I am now joined in the booth by Kart Chaser's own Caleb Smock, while Rob Howden takes a little bit of a leave. Caleb, will obviously be having you doing a lot of reporting. You've already been on the ground a little bit here today to kind of see the racetrack. Your first time here to AMR Motorplex as a broadcaster. What have your thoughts so far been watching from qualifying?
I mean, it's been hectic the first half of the day. Obviously, with the weather kind of throwing a wrench in the plans. I was standing up by the start-finish line just trying to get a feel for the track. Over here on the curbing on the exit, there's still water coming up when they drop a tire off of it. I don't think we're done with the weather yet. Obviously, it's Florida in the wintertime. Anything can and will happen with it, so it's going to be a little hectic towards the end. Obviously, now shifters are out on track, too. You're going to dry out the track a little bit more, but there's a couple of puddles here and there, so it's going to be a little hit or miss the rest of the day.
Yeah, we'll have to see here. Pro and Master Shifter qualifying, the combined group on the racetrack right now. We got Gianno Torino currently on your screen in the number 288 Magic Cart. Then Annie Rule coming across. There's Alan Isambard in the International Racing OTK entry. And here comes Billy Musgrave in the factory cart, number 203, down to turn number 1. Another big note, of course, here this weekend with the Pro and Master Shifter category. The first time, really, that we've seen the KZ motors evened out to the 175, since coming down to Homestead. We've got a few more drivers in a little bit of a different way for each division, but a slowly budding shifter group and rebirth, really, for shifter kart racing in the USA, which is why you see a little bit lighter numbers on the racetrack right now. But we've got two more fully packed out grids here to come with X30 Junior and, of course, the headline event for the weekend, X30 Senior. And in between them, we'll have our X30 Masters. So lots of qualifying still to be set for the total number of groups. As we look here, Caleb, you've got the first round of times for both classes.
Yeah, it looks like Allen's currently out in front in P number 1. That is for your Pro. Again, they do Pro and Master combined. Billy Musgrave P2. Gianno is running in the 3rd spot. Justin P number 4. Annie Rule currently in the 5th spot. And then we go to your Masters. Sketchy Barnes, who obviously finished in the top 5 at the Supernats just about a month ago, currently out in front. Farshad Bagheer, who is a local here from Florida, is running in P number 2. Ken Schilling ran the Pro Tour last year. He did the first couple of rounds here in Florida and also in New Orleans, currently running in the 4th spot. Justin running in P number 9, and then the rest of the order is going down. A lot of these local guys coming out here, maybe run here locally on a weekend basis, get a little bit of a home field advantage. Right now, with the track still being kind of iffy, I think everyone's still just kind of get a feel for things, especially in the shifter category.
Yeah, definitely. And again, this is a warm-up for a lot of these drivers that are expecting what should be a pretty big turnout when we go to New Orleans for the opening round of the SuperKarts USA Pro Tour later this year, to be a massive, massive class in both Pro Shifter and Master Shifter. So these drivers getting some extra seat time here on a hot racetrack during the winter months when maybe not everyone else is driving, should come into New Orleans not only a little bit fresher, but definitely with a leg up on the competition. More time to continue to work on their IAME or KZ power plants, on their shifter chassis. Of course, the chassis typically change a little bit each year. So an advantage for all of them to get some winter training in here with the SKUSA Winter Series. Coming to the final couple laps now. Checkered flag in the air as they come across. Here's Annie Rule across the line. Checkered flag for her as well. So that will conclude the qualifying session, and we'll run you back through that order again as you mentioned. Alan Isambard, that time, lap number 3 was his quickest, 47.130. The local kid under the International Racing banner from West Palm Beach, Florida. 800ths up on Billy Musgrave. We go back just 2 years ago to one of the debut years of the Pro Shifter and Pro Shifter 2 classes, and Isambard in the Open Pro Shifter class was just a little bit off where Musgrave and A.J. Myers and Danny Formal were. Now he finds himself looking at a potential pole position, and across the line for Master, Skitchy Barnes going 3rd overall and quickest in Shifter Master for the man from the Caribbean, Skitchy Barnes. Impressive run there to close out qualifying.
Yeah, all the way from, it's not the Caribbean, it's, I can't think right now, he's going to kill me. I've been working for him forever. But yeah, he's currently on track, P3. Like I said, you can't really say enough about how he did on Supernats. I think he was one of the highest drivers to run a 175 in the Master field, finishing in the 4th spot. So he obviously knows how to get it done. A local here in Florida that runs often, like you said, being from one of the island countries, coming out here and running often.
Yeah, very cool to see, of course, Skitchy Barnes here back and enjoying the sunshine here in Miami, Florida. We're going to take another commercial break. When we come back, your X30 Junior drivers are set to take to the racetrack here for qualifying.
Parallel USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parallel Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParalleLUSA.com. If you're looking for top-grade equipment, look no further than Rev Performance Materials, engine mounts, sprockets, and RK chains. Available online now at RevPerformanceMaterials.com and through a dealer near you. The highest quality material, built to the highest quality standards. Rev Performance Materials.
Welcome back here to Homestead-Miami, where we are live with the first group for the X30 Junior Qualifying session. Down the back straightaway, your first driver out here is going to be one of the Bennick entries. That is the 723 of Michael Costello, who will lead the way over rookie Enzo Vidmontien. Then it's going to be one of the PK Sports North America drivers, and so on, as we work our way around here with a shot on the final corner. Caleb, wild group of X30 Juniors as always. The first weekend that they're not going to have the pushback. Bumpers should be a little bit hairy. But at least they're split up for qualifying, so they can't all get on track to kill each other too early in the weekend.
That's always a good thing to have. And like you said, pushback bumpers, possibility of weather as well. If you're going to have rain here later this afternoon, which is a possibility with no pushback bumpers, turn one may be a little hectic. We're going to have to keep a good camera view coming out of turn one. It's going to be interesting to see. You can't really dive down 3 or 4 wide once it starts to rain. Again, as we saw earlier in warm-up and also in the beginning of qualifying, with just how the dry line kind of fails to come in just a little bit. And then you also have wet paint on the inside line, going to cause a huge hectic mess into turn one. I'm glad I'm going to be on this side of things if it does rain this afternoon.
Yeah, no doubt. We've got some nice shade here where we're at, but the sun is out and it is beating down here on the racetrack. The puddles are going away. It'll take a little while for some of the standing water in the curbs to get taken out, but nonetheless here, slowly but surely getting dry on the racetrack. As we watch out of turn number 4, that is Jacob Kolar in the Alonzo kart entry. He is just ahead of one of the other Bennick drivers. Jacob Kolar in the 796, longtime driver under the IPK brand, most recently with the Ralph Schumacher chassis line. He is still under the PK Sports North America team, but with new support from the Alonzo Kart North America and Kart Republic North America importerships, he has now been named the one of the Alonzo Kart team drivers for 2022. And it's cool to see for Kolar because they seem to struggle a little bit with material when it came to the IPK chassis. They maybe not having exactly the same level of success in junior that they had in mini and had expected to. So now here in the first group on the racetrack, he's at second, now making third as Gavin Witt jumps up the order on the Bennick. Beckham Jasir on the Paralin moves into second. Michael Costello, the first driver on the racetrack, is still your quickest as we watch Enzo Vidmontien head through the turn 5 hairpin here once again for qualifying. So 3 laps complete for the field. Michael Costello, I believe, only getting scored for 2 right now, but he is the first driver on the racetrack, so I'd be hard-pressed to find him anything other than 3 laps completed. As they come down the backstretch again here, won't really matter too much. They'll put a 4th one, go a little bit quicker. 4 minutes, 20 seconds complete. Costello across the line. 50.13, Jacob Kolar, 50.27, Vidmontien, a 5.7. Julian DaCosta jumps up. So they're shuffling quite a bit outside our top 5 here, Caleb. Michael Costello and Jacob Kolar currently your 2 quickest.
Yeah, they just got done with lap 4, now working lap 5. Again, these are going to be quicker qualifying sessions. Keep an eye on Enzo Vidmontien running in P number 5. Usually he is a very high runner. Obviously he's doing that now in the top 5. I think he may be battling for the top 3 here next lap. Also, Gavin Witt running in P9 right there inside the top 10. You can see a little bit of drafting come into play here. Obviously with no pushback, you may be able to give just a little bit of an extra boost to the guy in front of you. Now as they're trying to settle in, tires are now coming up to temp. Maybe interesting as they're now coming across the line. Costello still in P1. Let's see if he can hold on as we're going to have one more lap as the checker flag is out now.
Yeah, final time across the line here. There goes Costello. Here comes Julian DaCosta, the 778. Tucks his head down across the line there. That time by Jacob Kolar's already clocked his lap in. The rest of the field still continuing to clock on through. Here comes a big train of go-karts across the line. Beckham Jasir, tail end of that train, is going to jump to 3rd on the final lap. Nobody able to knock off Michael Costello, though, as he takes the cool-down trip into turn number 5. And, oh, man, massive impact across the start-finish line. One driver just lost the right rear tire and has pounded the outside retaining wall. Looks to be one of the Prime Power Team or PSL Karting Burrell R drivers at the very, very end. I believe that may be Frederick Lemieux in the 797. They're going to send the crew out there to check him out. He is up and out of the go-kart okay, but you can see from a wide angle here the 775 machine. No, my mistake. Not
Caleb
Frederick
Campbell.
Yeah, you're right.
And again, I think that's because on the exit of that final corner, like I was saying before, water was coming up from that curbing. If you drop your tire just a little too much, it's not entirely dry, gets a little slick, and then you get on top of the paint. If you have any extra momentum coming out of it, you're going to go a little too far like we just saw. Hopefully that team can get their cart back together and he can make it underway for the pre-final.
Yeah, hopefully so here. They'll work their way around the racetrack. You can see Caleb able to get himself up and out of the go-kart, so he is okay. A little bit of damage done, but plenty of time before they come back with their pre-final later this afternoon. We're going to wait here as the second group is still yet to come onto the racetracks. That was just group number 1, getting a little bit hairy out of this final corner. It's bitten a few already. That was probably the hardest impact we've seen yet today. But as we take a look here, you can see the mud has been driven just a little bit here out of the final turn. It's gotten a little bit past where the grass patch ends. It kind of dragged on. So not only if you drop a tire in the mud are you there for where the patch is, but that's gone a little bit further. And they've done everything they can here overnight. I've seen the AMR track crew as late as dark shoveling some of that extra dirt, extra salt that gets kicked up, trying to keep it from sticking to the asphalt and staying in those designated patches where they have put the grass on down. But again, a little bit of repair to be done here for Caleb Campbell, unfortunately, to the Prime Power Team livery Burrell Art onto the PSL karting entry. They'll still work here on a few more of the barriers and the rest of the racetrack. You can see them working down in turn number 1. A hard-working team here, both for Superkarts USA and AMR Motorplex, working together to put on this SKUSA Winter Series. But the paddock is filling up here. Again, the X30 Juniors, X30 Masters, and of course our double group for X30 Seniors still to come here. You can see your X30 Masters are lining up right now just on the pre-grid area, and quite a few getting set and staged to go. They're ready to move on in. You already see a few X30 Seniors starting to line up at the back. Everybody's ready to get racing here. I just got word from Superkarts USA's Neil Strickland, who has given me the update here for today of what we've got to come. With the drivers just going onto the racetrack now for X30 Junior, the plan at the moment is to just kill the lunch break, run directly through where we had that gap in time. Will be a 5-minute break for them to do a little bit of track service after qualifying. before the first pre-final goes green. But beyond that, we will not really be taking too much of a break here today, and we're going to try and fight the daylight, get everybody their full total track time in here before sunset hits, which should be right around 5:30 p.m. So those X30 seniors are going to be pushing it tight. With the first lap now underway as we come down the backstretch and through the final corner. Across the line, Brandon Carr and Aiden Ingrata, the first two drivers onto the racetrack here for X30 Junior in their field. Cycles through that last corner, right onto the edge there, nearly dipping a tire into the waterlogged outside curbing.
See these drivers now just trying to get a little bit of heat into their tires. A lot of them trying to spot and see where the puddles are at. Some of the puddles have gone away from earlier this morning. Now it's trying to figure out where can I put that right front tire to make sure that I can be right on the edge and not go a little too far like unfortunately we just saw previously. Right now you can see them packed up. Some guys trying to figure out their teammates they're going to be running with. Others maybe just trying to space themselves out, get a little bit more room. Most of these drivers had not been out of a kart for more than a month. Obviously since just under a month ago we had the SKUSA Super Nationals at Las Vegas, out in Las Vegas. Now they're going to come out here, kick off the dust, trying to figure out this track, the curbs, the waters, all sorts of challenges this weekend.
Yeah, it's the shortest off-season that the national karting scene has seen in quite some time. Of course, the SKUSA Super Nationals went through mayhem just to be able to try and get the show on. They were able to make it work. The SuperKarts USA team, the Kutcher family, and all of them were able to move the event to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway and pull it off just a couple weeks later than the normal date, but it made a very quick turnaround. Many teams from there went directly here to Homestead-Miami, made the trek over, some got in town, got on track for the Sunshine State Regional, some did not, and dropped their rigs here already when New Year's Day hit and began testing for the SKUSA Winter Series. But truly 1 month difference here, really a 2 to 3 week off season, and not much of an off season for any of these race teams or any of the drivers. As we see a little more shuffling around, here is Max Garcia on your screen as Aiden Ingrata drops behind him. The Will Power Card entry headed down to turn number 1, trailing behind Brandon Carr in the Bennick. And we'll give you the first updates of what we got lap time wise for the fast group in X30 Junior and where they have jumped up in terms of the first group setting that benchmark. Garcia on lap number 2, that time by the 702 machine, who is now working his way up to Brandon Carr, half a cart back headed to turn number 5, is only 3/10 off the pole, is quicker than everybody else in this group, next to Cooper Beasley, who is back in 7th. Garcia P3 at the moment. They'll work their way over towards the back section once again here. Garcia on the bumper of Brandon Carr. Gives them a little bit of a gap out of the final turn, and they'll come, or out of the second to last turn, they'll come down the backstretch. Final corner, Garcia looking inside. He wants to lead the way here, and he will, and that'll give him a good lap. It'll hurt Brandon Carr's lap time a little bit. He sits down in 11th. Garcia second. Cooper Beasley across the line, jumps up to 3rd. The Motorsport driver, oh my goodness! Massive impact across the line for Donovan Bonilla in the Orsolin Racing Tony kart. He got thrown from the go-kart. He is up, and I don't know if that'll red flag the session. They're going to try and get him out of there. That was a heavy impact, dropped a tire. The 787, they're going to move him off the racetrack here. Check him out. Here comes the crew. They'll get Donovan off to the side, get him looked at, and the SuperKarts USA crew will get that kart cleared. Qualifying with just only about 2 laps left here in this one. We go back to the action for the moment.
Nice to see he got out of the cart, walked over the barrier. Official's quick on the scene to make sure he's okay. Looks like he's taking his gloves and helmet off. Hopefully he is okay. The cart looks like there's a little bit of damage done to it again. Hopefully he can get that fixed before they go out for the pre-final. Meanwhile, on track, most of the drivers struggle with that exit of turn 1. Like you can see, it's been a couple of drivers so far. Now they're just trying to see how far they can go. As we were talking about earlier with Cooper Beasley going to P number 2. Garcia still runs in P number 3. Sebastian Weldon now up into the 5th spot. But Michael Costello still out in front, but it looks like that time is slowly starting to drop between Beasley and Costello for pole position.
Yeah, we'll see. Beasley was not able to get a clean lap last time. He's kind of in a group at the moment, trailing behind, I believe, Salim Hanna in the Team Montoya Tony kart. Let's see the field come down the backstretch one more time. Max Garcia was quick early, made a pass, lost some time. He's got a good lap coming together. Checkered flag coming. Final time. Can the kid from Coconut Grove, Florida, go to the top? He will come up 11,000 short. Costello holds for now. Here comes Sebastian Weldon to 4th across the line. There's Cooper Beasley, not going to improve either. He sits 3rd. Jacob Kolar's time from the first group down to 6th as Matias Orjuela's by, and around goes the 704 Caleb Gaffera final time by the stripe, and not going to be able to capitalize on lap number 5 with a spin there in turn number 12. He locks into 9th. And that'll do it for qualifying. A barn burner to the end, but very impressive from Michael Costello out of the first group, not necessarily the quote-unquote fast group to go quickest overall, Caleb, but it is close. It is very close at the top of your field.
Yeah, Garcia and Costello, like we said, 11/10 of a second separates them. It's going to be interesting to see on the start. Usually the X30 Junior class is a little bit more bunched up than others with the restrictor plate in the engine. Some of these drivers still trying to learn the ropes. It's going to be interesting to see with the pushback bumpers. A lot of these guys have never raced without pushback bumpers before, so it's going to be a lot to learn. We're keeping an eye on the weather. As of now, knock on wood, it looks like it's clear, but there are some clouds forming over the Atlantic right now. Hopefully it's going to be a clear and hot afternoon, but right now I think we're waiting underway to get these X30 seniors going.
Yeah, well, the X30 Masters next to come, and then of course our headline class, X30 Senior. We'll be trying to talk to as many drivers as we can as the day goes on as well. For now, though, we will be taking one more commercial break here as we work our way through qualifying. The X30 Masters, again, will be coming back after we come back from the break. So we will take our commercial break here. Again, you're watching live on YouTube or Facebook right now for the Superkarts USA Winter Series round number 1, live on Kart Chasers pages. And stick with us, folks. Again, our headline class still to come right after the X30 Master Qualifying when we come back after this.
Kart Store USA is a kart parts supplier that racers and retailers can count on when they need reliable advice and service. We focus on servicing all racers with honesty and pride while maintaining customer satisfaction. We carry a full stock of Kart Republic and Tony Kart chassis, as well as IAMI and Vortex Rock engines. We've also got a host of other parts available and in stock, such as products from Rev Performance Materials, Jecco Racing Seats, and more. We have a 100% satisfaction guarantee, and on top of that, if your order exceeds $200, shipping is on us. Check out all we have to offer today by visiting us online at kartstore-usa.com.
Welcome back here to AMR Homestead-Miami Motorplex with Kart Chasers coverage of the opening round of the Superkarts USA Winter Series. Qualifying just about wrapped up here with 2 more classes still to come. X30 Master and X30 Senior still on tap. 2 groups for X30 Senior, 1 group in total for X30 Master. We'll have the groups, of course, divided based off of final happy hour from yesterday. So they're going to have the engines fired up. We are going to send them out. I'm going to hand it over to Caleb Smock to call this qualifying session for your X30 Masters.
Masters are now heading their way out on track. You can see it's not one of the biggest groups here, but it is one of the most competitive. Most of these guys do know that they have to go to work on Monday afternoon. There's usually just that little bit more respect between them. Now they're currently making their way on track, trying to warm up the tires. Again, a lot of these guys haven't been on track since earlier this morning. Since this is one of the later groups, the track was drier. Now it's completely dry, but there are a couple of trouble spots. Now they're just going to make their way out and see if they can figure out just where they're at. Leaders now making their way on the backstretch for the first time. The rest of the field closely following. Green flag is now out for the first car. That is 5:46. That is going to be Lewis out in P number 1 so far. Again, this is just the first lap, trying to get the tires a little bit warmed up. You see the back end on a couple of these guys kicking out. Some of these guys, when I was talking to them, they said they're making a guess on tire pressures and not 100% sure where to go out. Sun is obviously beating down hard. Track is now starting to come up to temperature, but earlier today it was cloudy. Clouds are covering the track. It cooled off. It's been up and down all over the place. It's going to be a guesstimate on setups all throughout the day today. And now you can see that they are now working about halfway through. Some of these guys getting a little gutsy when it comes to carry momentum, maybe dropping a wheel. That wet paint just really sucks you out off the track. A lot of them are taking chances farther out. When you get closer to this final corner up here where the grass is, as soon as you drop a wheel, it just sucks you in. Obviously, we've seen a couple of guys have ended up in the wall because of it. First cart across the line is going to be, I believe that is now Luis Chavillo coming across. Mario Boris coming across in P number 2. Now he goes P number 1. Danny Brettenstein currently going to go P3. Michael Gordo is going to go up into P4. Ruben Ravello going up into P number 7. Fernando Agallo goes into P number 8. Diego Rodriguez is going to round out the top 10. Most of these guys get themselves spaced out, not a whole lot of bump drafting or drafting in general. Again, most of these guys are locals running down here in Miami. This is a home field advantage they have over some of the guys that run nationally. Previously, not a lot of these guys were out at Las Vegas for Super Nationals. Decided to come out and make the trip out here for the local race, see if they can hang with the big guys. Again, you can see them just trying the track gradually coming up to temp for these guys on these newer tires. Some of them getting a little bit risky. Going out wide on to the runoff tire. Whole bunch of water caught up there in turn number 1. Rest of the field is still spreading out. A lot of these guys is trying to figure out how is this track going to race farther in the afternoon. Most of the drivers here, I think, are going to be using the session as kind of a test to see how the track is going to feel. Like we said before, it looks like the radar is clear. Not a whole lot of weather or clouds going to be covering over. So I think this is going to be how the track is going to run later today. Not really optimal when you're going to be trying to pack race, but as you can look out and see, puddles are starting to go away. Curbs are starting to dry off. The only big areas are where there's grass on the other side of the curb. As soon as you kick a wheel over, it just really pulls you out to the outside. I can't emphasize enough how difficult it is to manage how much momentum you're going to carry, because if you go over the line, unlike previous years, we maybe got a little bit of a rough patch when it came to the runoff. Now you're going to have grass followed by a barrier. So the pressure is definitely now on. Water's still getting kicked up there in turn 1. Track's not 100% dry, but they were just trying to turn laps. Mario Boris still running out in P number 1. Now he's going to get pushed back into P2. Delilio Romeo is going to go into P number 1. Lewis is going to continue to run in that 3rd spot. Top 5 all getting shaken up. Diego Rodriguez moves up into the 9th spot, trying to see if there's any other big movers. Fernando now up into the 4th spot. Again, this group very much spaced out. Not a whole lot of drafting. This has been pretty straightforward. Lap number 3 completed. They're now working lap number 4. Looking down on the grid, you can see X30 Senior Group number 1 now making their way up to grid. A lot of the drivers looking out to see how the track is going to be looking. Also, a lot of them are looking up to see how the clouds. Looks like there's some clouds off to the south and also off to the east. Nothing from the direct south, though, so hopefully it's going to be clear the rest of the day. We're going to pray for it. See if we can't push them through all the way until the sun goes down at 5:30. So there is a time crunch. A lot of these drivers have been very well mannered as we on track at the appropriate times. Lap number 4 now complete. Looks like not a huge change going down through the field. Top 3 still the same. Mario still out in front. Currently has a 1/16 of a second gap over Delineo, running in P number 2. Looking down into your top 10, Diego gets bumped on. Looks like Michael is going to push him up. He is going to go into P number 9. Dan Bretstein currently going to get pushed back into the 6th spot. Checkered flag is now out. Let's see if there's any last-minute shakeups. See if Mario's going to be able to hold on to that pole position. 5:05. That is going to be Dan Bretstein. Moves up into P number 4. Rest of the field still coming across. Looks like tires are just now starting to come in for these guys. Michael is now going to move up into P9. 10th spot, still getting hung on by Diego Rodriguez. See if he's going to get bumps back, if he can move up the field. Looks like only a handful of drivers still yet to come across the line. Checkered flag is out. We got one more yet to come. He's going to go very wide out of the final quarter, hand up in the air. It looks like this is going to be the final for this afternoon, or I should say final starting spot for the feature coming up here, pre-final. X30 Senior Group number 1 about to be on track next. This one I think is going to be exciting. Obviously with happy hour yesterday, got a huge turn of events when it came to weather. Some of the drivers maybe got bumped back, not where they wanted to be optimally. But now with group number 1 about to go out, I think this is going to be probably one of the more exciting qualifyings we're about to see here this afternoon. Obviously X30 Senior is probably the premier event for this race.
Yeah, the X30 Senior class, of course, next up, our headline qualifying session. We'll try and see if maybe with the extra added break, we could try and pull our top qualified driver to come and chat with us here in the booth after they get done, and we'll figure that out here as soon as they roll on through. Again, 2 groups in qualifying, divided in half, nearly 40 drivers strong for X30 Pro Senior as we typically find them. The first group still to come is your bottom half from final practice. The second group, your fastest half. And that is all coming your way live here on Kart Chasers coverage of the SuperKarts USA Winter Series opening weekend. It all rolls on here live on YouTube and Facebook across the board. Again, X30 Senior up next.
I'm David Serra, 18-time Australian karting champion, and we're launching Kart Class. Kart Class is an advanced digital training program that suits a driver who's just starting out in the sport, all the way to the driver looking to win a national championship. In this program, you're going to be learning about how to find the ideal racing line and what an apex is, braking and throttle markers, wet weather racing lines, and how to overtake other competitors. We target how to brake in the wet weather, and we look on the mental side of kart racing as well with our mental skills coach. At the completion of this program, you'll be lighting up purple sectors in qualifying, know when to defend on the opening laps, and how to pressure your opposition into mistakes. We teach you the tools to be resilient and how to get in the right frame of mind before a race. We look to complete the whole package by getting a strong mindset, a driving style to suit all conditions, strategizing your race, and getting the last 1% from your team. We'll teach you how to win the final lap of a race, driving the wet like Max Verstappen, and creating the perfect bubble for yourself to mentally be in the zone. To find out more, click the link below.
Welcome back here live from AMR Motorplex. Qualifying underway for group number 1 here in X30 Pro Senior. And we have one driver already nearly tagged the barrier coming out of the final turn. That was Santiago Fernandez in the Alessandro's Racing USA OTK machine. He has cleared himself out now, and as they work their way over through turn number 4, we'll keep our eye out around the racetrack on all the drivers. 2 drivers in view right now to definitely keep your eye on are Jeremy Fletcher and Aaron Benoit. Right ahead of them is Cole Morgan. All 3 elected to not go out in that final happy hour session. Actually, I believe Benoit might have, but I know for a fact Fletcher did not. And the Morgan brothers didn't too much as well. See Fletcher throw a major dive there through turn number 9. We'll see if we can continue to pick them up, that group of 3, while the field comes around the back straightaway. Jeremy Fletcher was your quickest driver, 3 out of the 5 sessions, 3 out of the 4 that he was at least in, since he didn't compete in the final practice yesterday. So a driver to watch here with a dry racetrack now here for qualifying. A little bit damp on the curbing. Beyond that here, overall pretty good. And with all the dirt that got cleaned up here, you can see Neil Strickland, the SKUSA official, trying to clear that out as well. That'll come on the screen here in just a moment, because there was so much dirt and mud that just got kicked up when Santiago Fernandez went off the racetrack. Well, let's go see here. Alan Isambard on your screen, pulling double duty, Pro Shifter and X30 Pro. Impressive for the young driver. I think only maybe 16 or 17 years old. And again, calls West Palm Beach, Florida home. So one of your many South Florida locals here this weekend. Down to turn number 1, though, you can see everyone headed to the far end of the straightaway. Through there, we've got one of the other Tony Kart entries, I believe, the 323. And Caleb, I believe you've got our updated lineup here, as you can see on the screen, our overlay of where your initial drivers have sorted themselves out to. Jeremy Fletcher and Aaron Benoit have already jumped up past jumped up to the top quickly here in group number 1.
Yeah, Carson Morgan currently running P6. Not the jump I thought he was going to have. Like you said, he opted to not run in happy hour yesterday. Going to start in second group here to see if he can get some good qualifying spots. Going down the order, Cole Morgan, like I said, up into P9. Gabriel into 11th. And as we said, the top two of Fletcher and Benon running 1 and 2. Looking out on the camera, you can see just how happy these carts are getting on the exit of that final corner. You can see the big mud spot right there on the left-hand side. A couple of drivers earlier on that first lap, on the first out lap that is, cold tires already spun it. Looks like everyone's kind of trying to bide their time as we look, and it looks like Isambard now is going to go P1 just for the moment. Fletcher takes it right back, and Benot's going to go into P2. Isambard now goes down to third. Cole Morgan is now up into 4th.
Yeah, Jeremy Fletcher, 3 laps completed here. He's been at the top of every single one over Aaron Benoit. Then, of course, Alan Isambard. Cole Morgan was the driver who did not go out. Carson Morgan, his younger brother, did attempt to go out onto the racetrack for the opening session, or for the final happy hour session, but had an issue, I believe, on lap number 2 and pulled in. Jeremy Fletcher on your screen, though, quickest driver right now, 49.186 for the GWR Tony Kart, and of course tuned and owned by Gary Willis. Fletcher, one of the many junior hotshots moving up here to the X30 Pro class in 2022. We've had our eye on him for quite some time. He and Carson Morgan headlined pretty much the entire 2021 national season in the X30 Junior and KA100 Junior classes, with a couple of other drivers in the likes of them. Noah Baker, who has also moved up, has had some impressive runs as well in the junior class that is joining the seniors now. But Jeremy Fletcher and Carson Morgan split up the national titles over 2021, and now Fletcher striking first, it seems, or at least trying to become your unofficial Kart Chaser Rookie of the Year with such a great start here in Homestead. He already got one senior race under his belt with a regional event a couple of weeks prior, but this is his first on the 2022 National Pro Championship scene. And as the checkered flag comes here, the final laps are in. Fletcher currently holding by about 200ths. He's working up to the bumper of one of the core karting drivers here coming across the line, and that is going to hold him on that final lap, which will allow Aaron Benoit, one of the returning winners, the only returning driver in the X30 Pro class with a checkered flag from 2021, to go quickest here in group number 1. Fletcher getting held up there across the line. Won't like that, but he still is at least halfway decent with an opening lap of a 48.710, a 6.56 for Benoit. Kevin Ravento sits third. Eduardo Ludovico Villa in the TB kart, one of the many international entries coming across under the Speed Lab Racing Engines TB kart USA combination, is 4th. Carson Morgan, again a rookie, there in 5th. Alan Isambard 6th. Donovan Badia 7th. Santiago Fernandez, Cole Morgan, and Wes Duchak, your top 10 here for group number 1. But the fast group still to come here. Louis Westover with the gamble on the slick tires in final happy hour was able to put a lap together that eventually put him P1 by over a second. Now as he lines up first onto the racetrack here for group 2 in X30 Pro qualifying. Doesn't necessarily find himself in the most advantageous spot, but it's not a bad one to be in either, because you know you got clear racetrack, as we see him lead the field onto the circuit. Again, Louis Westover, your quickest driver from happy hour, has to go out first. They get sent out in the order from those final practice results. From there, once they get onto the racetrack, what they do, completely up to them. Noel Leone is up inside the order as well. He was very impressive on the wet tires before the slicks decided to take over and ended up being a little bit quicker. Thomas Neveau now going to go by Louis Westover, as we saw there in turn number 5. That is the Trinity Karting Group 324. We've seen him in Burrell Art colors all the way through up until the summer and fall of 2021. Spent his mini through to senior career to this point under the PSL Karting Burrell Art banner. has made the switch after parting ways with PSL Karting following the Supercards USA Spring Nationals in Utah last year. And then in the fall of that year, especially in Las Vegas, super impressive in his debut with the Trinity Karting Group, a budding Kart Republic organization that has become the flagship Kart Republic chassis team for the U.S. So with the first lap here getting started, we'll keep our eye on the first few drivers out that we expect to be quick. But again, some drivers that were on wet tires should be decently quick here as well. And again, we'll watch to see if Aaron Benoit's time of 48.6 holds up. Neveau leading a group of about 4 headed through turns 7 and 8 with Louis Westover in tow, along with Nate Cicero. And I believe one of the other drivers I'm trying to identify might be Diego Contecha, but I could be a little bit off on that one. They'll come down the backstretch this time. First lap to be completed here, Caleb.
One thing I want to point out, the wind did pick up as soon as they came out, which again, you might not think is a huge deal, but when you're trying to look for those hundredths of a second, anything you can get in your advantage, you need. And right now, they don't have a lot going for them. It looks like Benoit is still going to hold on to that fastest spot. Fletcher's still P2. I think this group is going to struggle to find the speed. The sun went away. Track will dry off with that wind picking up. Again, that changing weather we have down here is going to affect everything. We can see the top 2 on track still moving along. Not too far. I believe Pauly Massimino may be up in that mix. They're now bumper to bumper, those top 2, as we were talking before. Benoit and Fletcher still 1 and 2. Ravento still in the 3rd spot. Tires are just now starting to come up. They're going to, drivers on track now have to pray that the weather starts to die down if they want to have any chance putting in a fast lap.
Well, the good part is the way that the wind's working right now, it's kind of a tailwind going down the front straightaway, but it's moving all around. For a moment it looked like it was, or maybe a tailwind down the backstretch, but it's changing quite a bit. Louis Westover that time got a little bit sideways through turn number 1, but it was a decent lap here for the solo kart driver. 13th, although he'll get shuffled back quite a bit now. Alessandro Di Tullio, the number 320 Parolin. Alessandro Di Tullio jumps up over Thomas Neveau, who is in 2nd. He'll head out of turn number 5. Di Tullio, I believe, was on wets yesterday in the final practice. That's why he went out a little bit further down the pack here. You'll see many go on by. There's Di Tullio. He's got clear racetrack here, headed out of turn number 5 and 6. And so Alessandro Di Tullio, your new quickest driver. Check that. Noel Leon to the top of the boards in the 319. We'll keep an eye on Di Tullio, though, man. A promising start to his 2021 campaign. Of course, here in Homestead, won the qualifying session, or took pole in qualifying, won the opening pre-final going the other way for round 1 in January last year. Got involved in some controversy, of course, that unfortunately kept him out of Supercard USA competition for the remainder of the 2021 season. He's got a full year on the books here, 2022. He's a little more mature. Sophomore year, got a good head on his shoulders. And right now he is still 2nd as he's bumped Leon back, now bumped to 3rd. Mateus Morgado moves up the order in the 362.
Looking down through the order, like you said, Leon goes to P2. Di Tullio still up in the top 3. Not a lot separates the top 5 on track. Looks like Hannah Grinnemeyer is going to move up into the 5th spot. John Burke now into P6. Thomas Napu running in P number 7. Aaron Bennett gets bumped down to 9th. Fletcher now running in the 10th spot. Again, he was way up the order coming out of the first qualifying group. Now to the second one. Top 10 has all been shaken up. Looks like we've got lap number 4 now. Not a whole lot of time left. Let's see if there's any top 5 to make any changes with the last 2 or 3 laps to go.
Watching Thomas Neveau here come out at turn number 4. Plenty of gap behind. He jumped to the top initially. Hasn't bumped back as Diego Ramos picked up the pace in the 313. And Mateus Morgado in the AM Racing Engines X3 linking up with his good friend in Ariel Castro to go at it again here. Qualifying underway. Morgado nearly 2/10 clear of Ramos, coming to what should be the final or penultimate lap. Let's see if Neveau will get another one. Down the back here, out of the final turn. Does Likens give him the checkered flag? He's going to the minute. Neveau will get a 6th lap if he wants it. So will Louis Westover. So will a few more. There's the checkered flag. Goes out for Nate Cicero in the 382. Tyler McIntyre will not get another one as well. He leads the next group with Timmy Chapman and more. As they all jump up the order. Paul Bocuse to 2nd. Di Tullio to 4th. John Burke making its return to the Super Toon USA Tony Kart team that he had so much success with in the X30 Junior days. Finds himself in a good spot now. He is up into the top 5. Neveau bumped to 6th. Noel Leon 7th. Noah Baker 8th. Paulie Massimino 9th. Jace Park 10th. But Neveau going to get another shot at it. So will Louis Westover down at 11th. Here comes Neveau down the backstretch. Final time, one of about 5 more drivers to try and go for pole, go for broke. Morgado holds out of the final turn. Neveau not improving. Westover across the line. There's Colin Lloyd as well. No change. Noah Baker does move into the top 5, but Mateus Morgado, your quickest driver in his return to racing stateside with the team owner that he had so much success with back when Ariel Castro headed up the Parolin USA team many years ago. Morgado in the X30 Junior ranks was his lead driver and scored him quite a bit of hardware. Qualifying again coming to a close now. They're going to take a 5-minute generator break, which means we'll go dark a little bit on the commentary side on the stream after this commercial break. When we do come back, though, Caleb Smock will join me here in the booth. Of course, for those of you watching here along online, whether you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, where you can catch this live stream here on the Kart Chaser page, on the AMR Motorplex track page, on Kart Pulse, and of course on the Kart Chaser YouTube page. That is where you can watch the pre-finals coming up, and of course where you can watch the qualifying and pre-finals tomorrow as well. However, for the main events, if you'd like to watch the main events, you need to join our $10 per month premium membership for the main events only to watch those live, and that is available on our Kart Chaser YouTube page. Just go to Kart Chaser on YouTube or youtube.com/KartChaser, and you'll be able to hit the join button. It doesn't bill you until the 30th day of each month, but it's a great way to be able to watch the main events live. They'll be posted as replays on Monday and Tuesday following the race weekend, of course. But if you want to watch all the action, that's the only way you can do it. Otherwise, you'll watch the pre-finals and qualifying for free on Facebook and on YouTube. As we mentioned here, Caleb, a 5-minute break gives us a little bit of time to kind of catch our breaths and digest what just went down here, because we had all kinds of different conditions. At least the final half, the final 4 or 5 groups had a mostly dry racetrack, and the rain kind of stayed away, so it didn't get any bit different mid-session. We just knew it was going to get grippier and grippier.
Yeah, we knew it was going to get grippier and grippier. We kept an eye on the radar. I think everyone's probably going to have a weatherman in their pit right now. They're keeping an eye on the clouds. Looks like there are some clouds rolling in. It's going to be a little bit hectic, and plus we don't have pushback bumpers anymore. So it's going to be all sorts of hectics going into turn number 1.
Yeah, again, Rob and I talked about it before we went live. For many of these Microsoft drivers that are starting to queue themselves up for that opening pre-final session, they may have never raced a national level race with this many go-karts without pushback bumpers. So what does that do to them mentally? What are the coaches and teams telling them? What are the privateer moms and dads telling them? We don't know. We're about to find out here down by turn number 1. Again, the good news is the Superkarts USA team, the AMR Motorplex track team, did a great job continuing to try and dry this racetrack, make it as safe as possible. They've put a lot of emphasis, of course, into safety with that massive overhaul of the curbing and the runoff area, and a collaborative project, of course, with the Homestead-Miami Speedway, because while this track does look like a beautiful racetrack, it turns into a parking lot once a year for 7 days when the NASCAR Cup Series comes to town. So they had to kind of work through a lot of holes, but they all wanted to make sure that the racing was good, and everybody loved coming down to Miami for the town. And now, again, they love it even more as the racetrack continues to get better and better.
Absolutely, and like we said before, huge thanks to everyone made this possible. Beautiful weather, beautiful backdrop, and I just can't wait to get underway here at the pre-finals and the finals. All sorts of hectics is going to be going on. I can't wait to see how it happens.
Yeah, a lot of chaos, of course. A little bit of slow-moving chaos right now on the grid as everyone, since we were behind schedule, they already knew they were well due to be up onto the grid, so we're not really missing any drivers. There's just kind of a backlog as they're slowly getting themselves sorted into position of where they're going to line up. We're going to take a commercial break, maybe 2. When we do come back, though, we'll make sure to give you guys the starting lineup here for your Micro Swift pre-final.
Parolin USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parolin Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParolinUSA.com.
I'm Billy Vincent, owner of MPG Motorsports. What we do at MPG is we try to keep it a nice, fun family atmosphere, try to combine sort of the bigger things and of the bigger teams and the professionalism down with sort of some of the fun, sort of family-oriented atmosphere. We try to not only develop drivers, but also the parents and the families for just in knowledge in general in motorsports. It all starts in karting. What we try to do is try to help the drivers, the moms, the dads understand the sport of motorsports in general, not just karting, but what it takes to get all the way up through. Whether you end up wanting to be a driver or a mechanic or an engineer, you know, we can help you with that, and that's what we're here for. If you're interested in joining us at MPG, our home base is at Whiteland Raceway Park in Indianapolis, and you can contact us at info@willpowerkart.com. And one of our great people will reach out to you, and we'll try to put the best program together.
I'm David Serra, 18-time Australian karting champion, and we're launching Kart Class. Kart Class is an advanced digital training program that suits a driver who's just starting out in the sport, all the way to the driver looking to win a national championship. In this program, you're going to be learning about how to find the ideal racing line and what an apex is, braking and throttle markers, wet weather racing lines, and how to overtake other competitors. We target how to brake in the wet weather, and we look on the mental side of kart racing as well with our mental skills coach. At the completion of this program, you'll be lighting up purple sectors in qualifying, know when to defend on the opening laps, and how to pressure your opposition into mistakes. We teach you the tools to be resilient and how to get in the right frame of mind before a race. We look to complete the whole package by getting a strong mindset, a driving style to suit all conditions, strategizing your race, and getting the last 1% from your team. We'll teach you how to win the final lap of a race, driving the wet like Max Verstappen, and creating the perfect bubble for yourself to mentally be in the zone. To find out more, click the link below.
As the Western importer of the Praga and Formula K chassis brands, Leading Edge Motorsports is a high-performance kart shop and race team with a simple mission: teach others the joy of high-performance driving, supply our customers with the highest quality products and services, and most of all, win races. With our remarkable racing inventory, expert services, and top-ranked national-level team to back it up, we'll help to get your new kart racing package up and running fast. From arrive and drive service to kart preparation and driver coaching to the parts you need to get you back on the racetrack, Leading Edge Motorsports is the industry answer. Parallel USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parallel Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParalleLUSA.com. If you're looking for top-grade equipment, look no further than Rev Performance Materials engine mounts, sprockets, and arcade chains. Available online now at RevPerformanceMaterials.com and through a dealer near you. The highest quality material, built to the highest quality standards. Rev Performance Materials.
Welcome back here to AMR Homestead-Miami Motorplex. Rob Howden joins us back in the booth. And Rob, we're about to go racing here. Let's call it. Micro Swift Pre-Final coming onto the front straight away.
Yeah, Alessandro Truchot in the Parallel USA machine on the pole position. We're underway. Green, green, green for the first time in the Winter Series into turn number 1, that reconfigured exit. How does it play out? Drivers clean and green so far into turn number 2. Looks like Truchot able to take advantage of that pole position. Xander, he'll lead him down into turn number 4.
Yeah, decently clean start there. It looked, honestly, a lot cleaner than I think everybody expected it to. First start underway with no pushback bumper penalties. The Micros still driving pretty clean so far to turn number 5. Truchot, your leader here as they come out of the infield. About a 6-car length gap back, and I believe maybe Benja Fernandez there has slotted into 3rd. We have one of the other Bennick entries right behind him. That looks to be Tristan Murphy. And yeah, honestly, a pretty clean first half lap.
Yeah, nicely done for the Micro Swift drivers. I want to say that might be Ashton Woon, I think, up in the Nitro into the 2nd spot. Benja Fernandez, who started on the outside of the front row, not always the best place to start at this track with 2 left-hand corners after the green flag.
Yeah, definitely not the best. But here with the first lap completed, everyone will make it through the final corner. And again, nice gap beginning to build here for Alessandro Truchot down at turn number 1. A bit more of a gaggle behind him, but it is a healthy lead here for Alessandro Truchot headed back to turn number 4.
Indeed, Truchot out to a decent little advantage here, probably about 8 and 9 cart lengths as they work their way out of the first of the 2 hairpins, turn number 4 and turn number 5. Hairpin back down to a shorter straightaway into that right-hander. When we go in the opposite direction, coming back to rounds 3 and 4, that's going to be a really big passing opportunity. Still that good move down to the inside there before they lead themselves through turn number 6 into the 7-8 combination. I love that inner loop, Xander here, the double apex right-hander. I just love that. I love when guys are able to cut it tight, hug it, and get the pass done before they get over to 9.
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, the passing and racing in that section was already great here, and now with the track being almost feeling like a little bit narrower and not being able to clip the curbs, they're having to slow down a little bit more. And as you know, Rob, any braking zone, if it's long enough, it's a passing zone.
One driver coming off the front straightaways you saw there, but indeed, exactly that. The longer it is, there's that driver off there on the front straightaway. Number of drivers having trouble. It seems to be the big issue right now, getting on the rumbles on a turn number 12, just getting into that grass, and they're along for the ride after that.
Yeah, you know, there's some tracks where they make those rumble strips kind of fall off a little bit when they put them in, like Newcastle Motorsports Park, their exit curbs drop off almost a few inches. Here, that's not really the case. They tried to make them flat and flush, but they hold so much water still. That's the biggest thing. They touch the water, and then the cart just goes straight off with the way the momentum goes, takes them into the mud, and then from there, they're just a passenger. We saw a couple of heavy impacts while you were gone, and luckily everyone has been okay. No red flags, beautiful racing, beautiful qualifying, and a great start here. Beautiful view for Alessandro Truchot, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, Keon Truchot in the Parallel USA entry. Good run out of turn number 12 across start finish, back down into turn 1. You see the advantage he has there. Ashton Woon now has Benja Fernandez at number 12 closing up. Another driver looping. Coming out of the corner, another driver coming off as well. We have a lot of drivers struggling coming through turn number 12. We talked about that. Did you pick the number up yet?
That was the 19 of Drew Waltz. He was 13th at the line. Oh, man, he's going to drop all the way down to 35th or so. 20-plus spots, and we just got the update from Neil Strickland on the SKUSA update. So, again, we already mentioned we're going to be burning through the lunch break. We're going to have continuous racing all day long to try and beat the sunset. The pre-finals have been cut 2 laps shorter. They were originally going to be 12 and then 10 for the micros and minis. They're going to be 10 across the board. The main events were going to be 22 and 20. They will now be, I believe, 20 for all classes except for mini and micro. They will run 18.
Yeah. And you're saving a couple, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Every one of those sections going to give us that potential hour we need after the rain this morning. More drivers having trouble again. That one, I believe, might have been the number 12 of Fernandez having trouble.
That was. Yeah, Benja Fernandez pushing there. 3rd place across the line. Got a little bit sideways. We're keyed in on that because Alessandro Truccio has started to set sail just a little bit. In fact, you'll watch him come out of turn at number 4 here. That gap continuing to grow back to Ashton Woon and Benja Fernandez. So, again, Truccio leading the way here into turn number 5. Nice and healthy margin back there to Ashton Woon and Benja Fernandez, who Fernandez, even with that little bobble in the final turn, only about a cart length away, starting to put some pressure on Woon.
As Xander, drivers really dancing the razor's edge coming out of turn number 12. They're all pushing so hard. It's a very fast part of this racetrack. You're down to the end of the longest straightaway here. You're trying to carry so much momentum, and you just get a little wide, maybe a little shallow on the entry. That's why they're getting that wider exit. They got to be smart and hold on. Here comes Truccio. He's nailing it nicely. Gets about half of that rumble. Really good run out of the corner. Ashton Woon still charging, but you can see a really good run through there for Truccio on the Paralympic.
Yeah, and again, you can just see the rear end of those carts, as soon as they touch the rumble strip, it doesn't want to do what the front end wants to do. The front end's turning the wheel left to get back straight. The rear end, there it goes, another driver just through the mud, and that angle we got there just is perfect to see.
Well, you can say they lose the rear end, then they correct because they're losing the rear end, and it brings the front still biting.
Yes.
It brings them off to the racetrack. So tough part of this track, and these drivers are eventually going to figure it out. They'll dial it in, but there's still that moisture there in the grass on the outside of 12.
No, again, very tricky, but as you mentioned, they'll continue to learn here. Again, we talk about this being the youngest class. For some of them, might be their first time here to the racetrack. For almost all of them, their first time racing on a big level with the new runoff, with the different curbings, and they've only had, a couple days of practice, but racing's way different than practicing, as you know, Rob.
Here comes Truccio again. You look at, he's not even using that exit curbing. Good job for him. He'll be rolled back into 1. Here's that fight for 2nd and 3rd now. Ashton Woon, little defensive to the inside, coming into 1. The Nitro Kart driver pulling about a cart width over to the left side of the racetrack, and Fernandez on the Kart Republic hanging right there with them. Xander, good battle here for P2.
No, very good battle there for the 2nd spot again. Fernandez, like you said, he's just pushing. He's right now in a prime starting spot again. He lined up, on the outside of the front row. Now finds himself where he'd be inside row number 1. Maybe he just wants to sit there, I
was going to say, what do? You go to 2nd again and worry potentially about getting shuffled to the outside, or do you say, you know what, 3rd's good for me? I don't mind starting right behind Truccio for the main event. That's a really good observation.
See, the thing that, that's all great in theory, right? And until a penalty happens or someone gets thrown on second in front of you, and you're like, man, I could have passed this guy. I could have passed him 7 laps ago, but I didn't, and now I'm still in 2nd.
Well, one thing we don't have to worry about is pushback bumper. Those penalties aren't going to be coming in to mess things around. That's the one thing we'll know for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So
Woon stretching out a little bit there, maybe 2 to 3, maybe 4 cart lengths down into turn number 1, the 1-2 complex, the double apex kind of left-hander, back to the right hand of turn 3, then the run down to the first hairpin. And it looks to be like Ashton Woon here, kind of midway through this race, able to stretch away a little bit.
Yeah, Ashton Woon just able to kind of hit his mark. You saw him take a little bit further back from Alessandro Truccio right now, which is currently on your screen. But we go back to that battle here. He had taken a look over his shoulder coming out of turn number 4 that time, just to watch the gap, just to make sure he was doing okay, and he hasn't made any mistakes since. He's added about another half cart length as they head towards the back 90s. It's maybe 3 or 4 cart lengths, but they're still a couple seconds back from this guy.
A couple of shout-outs too. Rocco Simoni up 7 spots, 11th up to 4th, and then inside the top 10 as well. Julian Rivera started 17th into the top 10. That's a solid recovery in a pre-final. When you're qualifying outside the top 15, you can work your way into the top 10.
No, that's exactly what you need. It's impressive for Rocco Simone because he has just gotten through a little bit of traffic there in the form of Royce Vega back for 4th and 5th. We saw them at the end of the tandem when we were looking at Benja Fernandez and company. But Alessandro Truccio, of course, your leader, coming out of turn number 4. Then a little more contact right by us. In fact, someone just lost a rear bumper.
Yeah, rear bumper off. They'll see the meatball flag for that. Contact coming out of the corner, grabbed that rear bumper, ripped it right off. And indeed, that was just more of the carnage we're seeing as drivers struggle with this final corner of the racetrack.
Yeah, we'll look back through some of these midfield battles here. That's what we've kind of got on your screen, just about midway through the top 10.
Yeah, I think that's Cameron Marcia. He just made a move by Daniel Miran Lorente, so that was about a lap ago. So indeed, that's, I believe, Marcia in the number 14 into 6th.
Yeah, good catch there, Rob. Here again, white flag, though, going to come this time by for the race leader as they work their way down the front straightaway. 1 lap to go. We'll keep an eye here on the last lap, kind of 50-50 between Alessandro Truccio and, of course, that battle for second as Fernandez kind of closed back up. Went purple that time, you're right. Purple, 54.431 for Benjamin Fernandez, so he'll have a shot at him. Maybe not turn 4, maybe if he can get close enough, turn number 5. As we see them just the edge of your screen, you're watching Truccio come down to 5. We'll switch back here as we get closer and keep an eye on that battle for second as well.
Well, here's what happens. What does Woon do? Does he start going on the defensive? Does he start running some defensive line that's going to allow Fernandez to close? It's only a cart length now through the midsection of the racetrack. A little tighter through there, Xander, for Woon. He's strong still through turn number 9. Coming into 10 and 11, it's going to be the run down the straightaway, and it looks to me Fernandez about 2, maybe 2.5 cart lengths coming out of 11.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a little bit too far. We'll go back to the lead, though, while we battle for them. Alessandro Truccio across the line, checkered flag. He'll win the pre-final in Micro Swift over Woon Fernandez. Here comes your field on by. At the end of your top 5 there, Rocco Simone, as you mentioned, good drive forward. Royce Vega, Cameron Marsha, Daniel Maroon, Lorente, and Mateus Romalo, I believe, shuffled just inside to the top 10. He was started a little bit higher as they came across. Semi Martinez into 8th, Julian Rivera 9th, so he's up 8 spots. Romalo started higher, fell back, still remains inside the top 10. He can fight from there, though. That's row 5. That's not terrible.
Agreed.
Into the final.
Hey, you're in the top 10, especially if there's any kind of chaos in the opening couple of corners. You know, you can find a way. You can get yourself into a spot to get up into that top 5, top 6, and we've seen that before in micro. We'll get that potential lead group developing, but Alessandro Truccio, totally taking advantage of the pole, was able to stretch away to a nice little win, 2.8 seconds over what was a 10-lapper. That's a pretty solid race win for Truccio.
No, absolutely. A dominant win here to kick off the weekend. Again, we talk about confidence here. This could be Truccio's year, and again, that's what they're looking at. They had a great year last year. You know, he'd podiumed, he'd run up front, he got onto the box at a number of different places.
Agreed.
Now he's looking for championships, just like you said, Rob.
His time in the spotlight, right? For sure.
Well, we're going to, again, switch it on back here to the racetrack. While they clear it, we'll go to commercial break. So the Supercoach USA Winter Series, round number 1, our first pre-final is complete. And again, as they take a look here to get the micros cleared on out, when we come back, more racing to come. Your K100 Juniors lined up and set to go. Stick with us, folks, live on Facebook and YouTube on all the Kart Chaser platforms. Kart Store USA is a kart parts supplier that racers and retailers can count on when they need reliable advice and service. We focus on servicing all racers with honesty and pride while maintaining customer satisfaction. We carry a full stock of Kart Republic and Tony Kart chassis, as well as IAMI and Vortex Rock engines. We've also got a host of other parts available and in stock, such as products from Rev Performance Materials, Jekko Racing Seats, and more. We have a 100% satisfaction guarantee, and on top of that, if your order exceeds $200, shipping is on us. Check out all we have to offer today by visiting us online at kartstore-usa.com. Welcome back here live from Homestead-Miami, and the wind, as you can see, just kind of a constant breeze, and that's what you normally get here all the way down at the edge, just a couple miles from the coastline. We've completed already one pre-final here. Myself, Xander Clemens, in the booth for Kart Chaser and the ECAN Radio Network, of course, joined and led by ECAN's own Rob Howden, your lead announcer and the voice of the Super Karts USA Winter Series. He had to step out for a moment for a COVID test, made it back just in time before he got racing. Perfect timing.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Good to get back for the wheel-to-wheel competition. Qualifying was obviously exciting. We got our first test, our taste rather, of guys going head-to-head. We're going to get it again here right now. It's Caleb Gaffera will start on the pole position. KA100 Junior rolling out for what will be their pre-final. Team Bennick, the sponsor of the category. Gaffara running for Rawlison Performance Group. Gaffera, the number 820 starting pole, alongside Matea Naranjo for Trinity Karting Group with the number 851. Stephen Miller and Luke Welcome will be on row number 2. Welcome was a winner here in the Winter Series last year, so expect him to battle it out. Austin Jers and Adam Brickley on row 3. Max Taylor alongside Max Schweid on row number 4. And Reagan Seville and Valentino Garbarino will be the drivers on row 5 to cap off the top 10. A total of 21 drivers set to take the green flag, and they'll work their way down the straightaway, getting themselves into position to get ready to roll. Again, Gaffera will lead them out. He'll be the driver to punch off first. The drivers will get into the staging lanes, and we'll get set to go racing. A little bit of a warm-up there for Gaffera coming up to the line, dialing things back in. Outside of the front rows, a little bit forward, but we're at it. Green, green, green. Drivers lead the trams. We are racing through turn number 1. Some carnage there. Drivers getting connected, probably 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Xander, that's going to give Gaffera a nice run at turn number 3. Yeah,
Matea Naranjo looked like he, as you mentioned on the outside, was going to have the advantage over Gaffera, and then it seemed like that second lane just got really, really sideways. As they head for turn number 5, Gaffera, as you mentioned, nice run, already up to 4 or 5 car lengths back to Austin Jers, who has come out as the ultimate benefactor from the opening lap and a half. And we'll update the rest of the field here because we've got some new drivers and new faces, of course, not only just in this session, but for 2022 that could be up front consistently. But 2 drivers who have been at the forefront of the junior class out of 2021, Caleb Gaffera, Austin Jers, 1 and 2 coming to complete the first lap here live from Miami. KA100 Juniors pre-final is underway.
Good start for Gaffera, who spent a great deal of 2021 running overseas, part of the FIA CIK Karting Academy as well, representing the United States at that event last year. So a lot of different experience, more unique experience for Gaffera, and he looks good here. Was a winner last year at the USPKS event as well, was strong at the Supernats, and we'll look now to try to get out of the gate strongly here. And we watched him, Xander, over the last couple of Winter Series, whether it was in the micro class, mini, and now into the junior categories. He's always kind of been in the fight here at the Winter Nationals. It's been almost a career-long battle between he and Max Garcia, those 2 drivers going at it, but a good start to the KA weekend here as he leads significantly over Austin Jers here in KA100 Junior.
Right, and of course we talk about significantly. For those of you just tuning in now, Caleb Gaffera put 2+ seconds on the field in qualifying for KA Junior, so he was the master of the intermediate conditions. Now we're, I'd say, almost 90% dry. We were definitely dry on the racing line, but there are some slick spots all around, especially in those exit curbs.
You got to be smart still, and the exit curbs is key. You want to test them a little bit, but watch the driver in front of you. Caleb's not going to get that opportunity, but guys that go off in front of you, that's a really good indication that you need to stay out of the way.
Right, again, he's already up 1.2 seconds from Austin Jers, so at least so far it's working. Doesn't have to worry about anyone really closing in on him as we get that great shot there coming into turn number 7, 8, and 9. One of the more technical sections of the racetrack, and then they go to the back 90s there. Gaffera over Jers. Max Taylor was one of those new drivers I didn't just recognize yet. He is under the Full Tilt Racing team. That is, of course, the Ryan Raffa and his father's operation out of the Northeast. Long trek down here to Miami, Florida. Great to see them, and great to see them making good use out of it here with Max Taylor in the Full Tilt Racing Mike Doty livery here at P3.
Austin Jers going purple on lap number 3, so that car's starting to come in nicely here. The gap for Gaffera down to 1.1 seconds. See the rest of the field working their way down the straightaway. We'll pick up that lead group as they work their way now out of turn number 4. That's the first of the 2 hairpins. Here comes Gaffera down into the right-hander. We'll see how close as he gets that car to jack, getting that inside rear tire to jack up a little bit with a strong steering input immediately onto the entry to the corner through the double apex right-handers. Through now turn number 9. You can see Jers starting to close up. Gafera through 10 and 11. The boxes, I used to call it. The back parts are really a square corner. You get through turn number 8, 9, 10, 11, all the way down the back straightaway to another 90-degree corner. And Gafera looking pretty good here now. There's the gap between he and Austin Jers. I think Jers is cutting into it. He goes purple again. It's 0.7 of a second now, Xander.
Yeah, you talked about it. I mean, hey, right now it's paying off. Austin Jers has that rabbit out in front, and again, a great gauge in Caleb Gafera, where he can see when Gafera's braking, what kind of lines he's taking, where he's not going, and maybe, you know what, let me try and go a little bit deeper, a little bit wider, and right now it's paying off, as you mentioned, down to 0.7, might even be a little bit closer. Great run out of turn number 5. You can already see him painted into that close view we got of Gafera. Austin Jers closing in. With
the track being so dynamic, changing as it has throughout the day, Gafera's out there with nobody to follow, no rabbit, nobody to show him kind of what's going on. So we talked to a couple drivers about that as well. He's the one that's out there feeling the racetrack and feeling what it's like. For Jers, he's in the back saying, okay, you went here, I see that work, I can follow you. And Austin most definitely closing up. He went purple laps back to back to back, another purple lap, 50.846, only a half a tenth quicker though. The gap's still just over 0.7 of a second.
Yeah, again, just a little bit quicker. The top two starting to close together. First and second on the racetrack, of course. Austin Jers, as you mentioned, just half a tenth. And we talk about both drivers. You know, Jers, I think he was borderline. He had a great year last year. Was in really kind of on the same track and age path that Max Garcia and Caleb Gafera have been. He's about, I think, 6 months early because he battled with Max Garcia for that Winter Series mini title a couple seasons ago, along with Gafera. Moved up mid-year, kind of early into the junior class, and now he's looking at what will be a second full junior season, to my knowledge. Really 2.5 for him.
And, you know, for any one of these young drivers to be able to have a good Winter Series opener, I think sets the tone for the year. You wrap things up. Even though we're only a month off from the Super Nationals, still, you turn the calendar. It's a new year. We're into January. When you can have a strong Winter Series, it sets the tone. It helps put your confidence in the right direction. It helps with your mindset. You'll see drivers do well here and carry that through the middle of the season.
Right, and especially the biggest thing with the winter months is that there's so much racing that happens from January to March, especially this year, Rob. As you know, we've got the SKUSA Winter Series. There's the Rock Florida Winter Tour many of these drivers are going to go to. The U.S. Pro Kart Series kicks off in March. I mean, if you count all the major national races that many of these same drivers will be going at, it's tough because it's a lot like the NASCAR and IndyCar guys where they've only got a week to mentally reset and put that bad race behind them. Whereas at other times throughout the year, we have one race a month, maybe two a month. You got a lot more time to kind of decompress.
And you head to the track and test, right? You can go practice. You can spend a day at the track with your coach if you had a bad weekend. You don't get that right now. It's turn around, get right back at it. And, of course, drivers who are doing just SKUSA only are back here in a month, but a lot of guys will be at that Rock Cup race as well.
Right, even SKUSA only. I mean, this is the shortest gap outside of this crazy 2021 that kind of backed the Supernats up. True. This is typically the smallest gap the drivers have for the SKUSA Winter Series. Coming back to the same racetrack, and for many of them, as we've talked about already, you can't run up north. You can't test. So if they're not from the southern hemisphere, the southern half of the U.S., they're probably not even being able to get track time between now and February.
And that's what's so big about the Winter Series. Anybody north of, Ohio, Indiana, up into Canada, they want to get down here. They want to get out number one of the winter weather. It's, I think, minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit up north here right now. You want to get down here into the Florida sun, but it's more about getting the time to be on the racetrack. You don't want to get behind like Caleb Gafera is right now, losing a bit. Jers 0.2 quicker that last time by, a half a second gap between first and second. So Jers continues to push. He has looked really good here mid-session as we're continuing to wind these laps down here right now. 7 down, I think 3 laps remaining here. Two laps to go in this pre-final.
Double sticks in the air here that time for Caleb Gafera and Austin Jers as they come on through the infield section closer than they've been, although behind them, that's what we're focused on as well, this battle. Whoa, a little bit of contact. That was Luke Welcome putting the bumper to Ernesto Plavovic through turn 5 and 6, and Plavovic loses 2 spots in it. I want to take a look at that battle for the lead, though, here if we can. We've got it on screen now. 3 car lengths between them. White flag. Can Jers get there? He's chipped away. He is close. Going to need a perfect final lap, though.
And again, what does Caleb Gafera do? Does he stay with the racing line? If he goes defensive, that's going to give the opportunity for Jers to get closer even more. Right now, about 2 car lengths out of turn number 3. They'll work their way down to the first of the 2 hairpins. Turn number 4, the left-hander. Look how close Austin Juris is right now. He's within a cart length. Does he make a move? Thinks about the inside of turn number 5, but does not do it. It'll be in half a cart length out of 5 through 6, through the 7 and 8 corner. Pretty good run here right now. Juris, Xander putting a lot of pressure on Caleb Gafera into the inside of turn number 9. Book it. He's through. Juris takes the spot away. A great move coming out of the inner loop. He goes into P1 with a pass to the inside of turn 9. Back down the straightaway. Inside move here for Juris. Trying an over-under here for Gafera. What kind of a run can he get out of the corner? They're side by side across the line. Let's see who it is. Austin Juris by 5 thousandths of a second.
Unbelievable.
I like it though. I like the last lap passed. I like the over-under from Caleb Gafera. Gave us a good look at what we could see at the end of these races. Juris with a great move in turn number 9. Caleb Gafera tried it, but that run to the line ends up being short by just 5 thousandths of a second. Tighter, probably at the line, because you can't use that big outside run. Normally a driver could throw it in there, go where the grass is right now, and carry a lot more speed. That's going to change our finals. It's the first time we've seen that and how that could play out.
Yeah. Again, as that grass dries out by the afternoon, if we get some more sun, if we don't get more rain, you may see some guys try and Ricky Bobby Cole trickle it through the grass, and hang on. But I don't know if we'll see that here. Definitely not right now with all the mud that is on the racetrack, and the fact that we're going to be driving all the way through with no time for them to really clean the track off. I don't know, but yeah, definitely a different type of finish. And it's crazy, just a little bit of room, just literally a couple feet change with the curbing. This track race is
and shout out to both drivers. The passes and the overtaking attempt by Gafera, no contact whatsoever. Both those drivers respecting each other. That's what you want to see up front.
No, that was a great, clean race here. We'll send it off to commercial, of course, when we come back with more racing, though.
Austin Juris, P1. Caleb Gafera ends up second. Max Taylor third. Adam Brickley fourth. And Luke Welcome rounding out the top 5. And as we said, folks, don't go anywhere. Lots more racing to come here on Kart Chaser.
I'm David Serra, 18-time Australian karting champion, and we're launching Kart Class. Kart Class is an advanced digital training program that suits a driver who's just starting out in the sport, all the way to the driver looking to win a national championship. In this program, you're going to be learning about how to find the ideal racing line and what an apex is, braking and throttle markers, wet weather racing lines, and how to overtake other competitors. We target how to brake in the wet weather, and we look on the mental side of kart racing as well with our mental skills coach. At the completion of this program, you'll be lighting up purple sectors in qualifying, know when to defend on the opening laps, and how to pressure your opposition into mistakes. We teach you the tools to be resilient and how to get in the right frame of mind before a race. We look to complete the whole package by getting a strong mindset, a driving style to suit all conditions, strategizing your race, and getting the last 1% from your team. We'll teach you how to win the final lap of a race, driving the wet like Max Verstappen, and creating the perfect bubble for yourself to mentally be in the zone. To find out more, click the link below.
Welcome back here. We are underway. Just got the green flag there for KA100 Senior. Great start for Nicholas Terlucky, and he'll lead your field out of turn number 1 and down the short chute towards turn number 4 for the very first time. The Merlin driver under the Holtz driver development entry with his team owner back in third. Josh Holtz right there. They've split Connor Ferris as they head for turn number 5. And the closest packed group we've seen so far, as there is a lot of action there through 5. You saw Aiden Levy getting a little bit of a bumper from behind. He's got Aiden Rudolph and a hungry group there through the middle section. But Terlucky leads them out of 9 over to 10 and 11 and down the back straightaway here to complete lap number 1 with about 3 to 4 car lengths to boot at the moment. Down the backstretch, there's Terlecki, tucks his head down behind the wheel. Final corner and on through down the inside, drops the wheel a little bit, but all good. And Jeremy Fletcher through the first lap here, just off camera, was able to get by Josh Oates. So Caleb Smock here joining me in the booth as we've got the live stream going for the SuperKarts USA Winter Series round number 1. Rob Howden just stepping out for just a moment here. With no lunch break, we're going to cycle around our entire crew, giving you a chance to hear a little bit from everybody. And Caleb, of course, back at it. This is going to be a great race. You got treated here to what should be a great one to call with a lap and a half in and still a tightly packed lead group.
Yeah, feeling very blessed to be able to call this one. Probably going to be one of the closest races. The KAs are usually a lot tighter than the X30s. Like we said before, Terlecki currently out in front, trying to pull away from the field if he can. Ferris not too far behind him. P number 2, he's got a little bit of help, a couple of cars behind him. Now they're coming into where there's probably the only part of the track where there's a toe. Down this kind of a short backstretch into the final corner. You can see him throwing the cart in, gets just a little bit of curb across the line. It looks like Terlecki's still out in front. Ferris and P2, Fletcher in the 3rd spot. If anyone's going to be able to catch Terlecki, it's probably going to be those two if they can work together. But as of now, it looks like Terlecki is really starting to pull away from the field.
Yeah, Jeremy Fletcher with a good run there through the opening sector. I think he should have a great shot here at Connor Ferris into turn number 5. Let's zone in on it here. First, second, looking deep on the brakes, inside and clear. Jeremy Fletcher is up another spot, and the rookie starts to make his way forward. Shades of Connor Zilish in 2021 right now for this hot start that Jeremy Fletcher is on in the Go Win Races Tony Kart machine. He's up to second. Got a little bit further to try and catch Nick Terlecki, though, as they battle back for third. Josh Oates now starting to bear down on Connor Ferris, one of the veterans here in this 100cc class. Again, this kind of like your unofficial lights division for the senior ranks. You got your 100cc KA100 Senior and, of course, your 125cc X30 Pro class later on today here in the afternoon. But watching this battle for second, just up the road, of course, is Nick Terlecki as they head for turn at number 4. You can see he's got about 7 or 8 car lengths back to Jeremy Fletcher. Getting run a little wide there is Josh Oates. He's door to door. Aiden Levy trying to get clear there, and it shuffles Oates back a number of spots. And Aiden Rudolph, big benefactor in the Burrell Art, as they all give a big gap now to the top 3.
Levy made a big move coming out of the hairpin. He has now moved his way up the field. Again, we're going to keep looking. There's Terlecki out in front. Fletcher now up into the 2nd spot. He was able to get around the traffic early, but now is he going to have time to reel him in? Already starting to pull away. Already up about maybe 5 or 6 kart lengths over Ferris as they come down to the final corner. He is slowly starting to take away on that deficit to Terlecki, who's your leader. Terlecki now has got to be perfect for the rest of the race if he wants to make sure that he can hold off Fletcher. But again, this is the pre-final. We still have a whole nother race to go. If the finish is how they are, those two on the front row, and I think we're going to be treated to a really good event. We already are with the KAs, like you're saying, kind of like the lights division, under horsepowered, but because they have a little bit of horsepower, they are always running tight together as we continue to watch Ferris and Fletcher now coming out of the hairpin over into the quick chicane. Still not letting him go is going to be Ferris. He is right there on the back bumper Fletcher, but they are both starting to reel in Terlecki.
Yeah, both drivers working together, as you mentioned, a little bit less horsepower, which means that drafting makes a bigger difference here. Jeremy Fletcher, a kart length up on Connor Ferris, definitely chipping away. Went purple last time by, going to probably do it again this time by. Out of the final corner, Nick Terlecki, Jeremy Fletcher, a little carburetor adjustment there as he reaches his hand down by the engine. That's to tune the needles on the carburation, trying to make sure that thing's running as good as he can. Fletcher through 2 and 3. Little mistake from Connor Ferris, or maybe just not using the runoff as good as Fletcher. As we mentioned, Connor Ferris hadn't been going as wide as some of these other drivers through turns 1 and 2. Definitely losing out on it right now to Jeremy Fletcher and Nick Terlecki. But here they go, through 5. Terlecki right behind is Fletcher, Ferris, and we were focusing again a little bit earlier on that battle back for 4th. It's still heating up quite a bit. Aiden Rudolph versus Aiden Levy versus Peyton Phillips, P4, 5, and 6. And Josh Oates, who was up front earlier, has been shuffled all the way outside of your top 10. After that one little move by Levy, it was like the floodgates opened, and he fell backwards. Through the final corner here, another lap complete. Terlecki over Fletcher, who is still trying to find a little more. Tunes again on the needles, down to turn number 1. There's a side-by-side move by Levy down at the edge of your screen. That was for 4th. And he was able to get by. Aiden Rudolph loses 3 spots in total on that just off screen. and we'll make sure we capture that here as your top 3 go on through. Then at the end of your screen, you can see that battle for 4th as well. But we stay clued in here on the leaders because this could open up at any time. Fletcher's only a cart length back now, Caleb, here working their way through the infield.
Yeah, down that main straightaway, Fletcher was really tuning on his carburetor. Again, change of conditions. You got to be on top of things. It looks like he's trying to make it on track. He is now within the back bumper of Terlicki, making the way out of the couple left-handers before they come down the straightaway. This is probably the only part of the track where the draft comes into play. You can see him tucked up on the wheel, head all the way down. He is now reeling in on Terlicki coming out of the final corner. Now within about 2 car lengths across the line. Let's see if he's going to be able to hold on. Terlicki also up on the wheel, trying to see if he can stay in the tow. Maybe try to pull away from Fletcher, but Fletcher right now, I think he's got his eyes set on Terlicki.
Yeah, 2.5 laps to go here. Again, these pre-finals getting cut down from 12 to 10 laps here as we got one driver turned around on the front straightaway. That is Luis Colomodio, unfortunately in the 929, the first to get bitten there by the mud on the outside of the final corner. We go back to the leading battle, though, it's packs of 3. We have our leading group of 3 here, then a second group of 3 just behind them. 4th, 5th, and 6th as Carson Morgan's joined that group, and they're battling even a little bit more than the leaders are right now. So, again, 2 packs of 3 right now. The front 3 and then 4th, 5th, and 6th are also having a great battle on the racetrack. Down the backstretch here, double sticks though. Nick Terlicki, 2 to go. Here's that battle for 4th. Aiden Levy just got passed by Peyton Phillips. Carson Morgan closing in on the fight as well down to turn number 1.
Terlicki dropped a wheel coming out of that final corner. He did get passed by Fletcher. Fletcher is now your new leader. Terlicki now is going to stay in the draft in hopes he can make back up the position that he lost. But right now, Ferris right on the back bumper. Terlicki, I don't know if Terlicki got his tires dirty and they're just now starting to clear off, but Ferris sees his opportunity to start in the front row, and he's all over the back bumper Terlicki. Terlicki now is trying to get back up with Fletcher. Fletcher out in front, Terlicki in second, Ferris in third. We're about to have a 3-car battle coming to the white flag.
Yeah, just a lap and a half to go, and that's one of those things about kart races. The moment we switched over from one battle, the other one explodes. Nick Terlicki makes a mistake, but he's going to have a great run down the back, and he should be able to challenge into turn number 1. White flag coming. This time by. 1 to go. Terlicki's all over the bumper. Fletcher knows it. He takes them down to the inside lane, all the way to the blue paint to turn number 1. Terlicki, crossover move. He'll get by. Great pass by Nick Terlicki. He moves into second as they head for turn 4. Caleb.
Terlicki out in front, but here comes Fletcher. Tries to go to the outside, trying to maybe do a crossover move on the exit of the hairpin. Can't get it done. Ferris now to the inside of Fletcher. They're going to go side by side of the hairpin. Ferris is going to try to go for 2 for 1. He is going to cross him over on the inside. Ferris is your new leader. Fletcher into P2. Terlicki now running in third.
What a pass by Connor. Ferris crosses them up. Fletcher dove it down the inside of Terlicki, and I don't think Jeremy Fletcher has the top end speed that Terlicki or Ferris do, so he's going to need some drafting help, but they are bottling up. Last time down the backstretch here. Ferris down to the inside. He'll cover off the bottom. Fletcher has to do the same. Tries to go through. Finds a hole. Here comes Terlicki as well at the line. Who's it going to be? Nick Terlicki. Whoa.
How about that for a 3-wide finish for your pre-final?
Man, some awesome stuff here for the KA100 seniors as we see Gia Cicero a little bit sideways across the line there, nearly popping our cameraman as they come to the checkered flag. But Nick Terlicki crossover move. Jeremy Fletcher gets bit twice by being the one to find a hole on the inside from the leader blocking. Fortunately for Fletcher, again, not able to come away with the top spot. He ends up second in both circumstances. Made it exciting, though, and a great run for the rookie, but Nick Terlicki comes away your winner. Again, Jeremy Fletcher, Connor Ferris, Peyton Phillips, Carson Morgan, Aiden Levy, Aiden Rudolph, Nick Bruckner, qualified 6th, P8 overall. Cole Morgan up 12 positions. Rob and I talked about Cole in qualifying, the reigning SKUSA Pro Tour champ, trying to make up some ground. He does so here in the pre-final. 12 spots up to 9th, and Josh Oates fades back to the edge of your top 10 in 10th. We will be coming back from commercial with Rob Howden back in the booth, I believe, as Caleb Smock will be able to get some food as well as we cycle through, because the racing, it is non-stop here for the SuperKarts USA Winter Series opening day. With the rain delay, with the storms and everything that we've got potentially coming, shorter races means more action, and there's more action coming your way. Stick with us, folks. Live, it's the SuperKarts USA Winter Series from Homestead-Miami.
Parolin USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parolin Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParolinUSA.com.
I'm Billy Vincent, owner of MPG Motorsports. What we do at MPG is we try to keep it a nice, fun family atmosphere, try to combine sort of the bigger things and of the bigger teams and the professionalism down with sort of some of the fun sort of family-oriented atmosphere. We try to not only develop drivers, but also the parents and the families for just in knowledge in general in motorsports. It all starts in karting. What we try to do is try to help the drivers, the moms, the dads understand the sport of motorsports in general, not just karting, but what it takes to get all the way up through. Whether you end up wanting to be a driver or a mechanic or an engineer, you know, we can help you with that, and that's what we're here for. If you're interested in joining us at MPG, our home base is at Whiteland Raceway Park in Indianapolis, and you can contact us at info@willpowerkart.com, and one of our great people will reach out to you, and we'll try to put the best program together.
So welcome back here from AMR Motorplex. We've got the Mini Swifts onto the racetrack here. Rob Howden joins me back in the booth. We'll give Caleb Smock the chance to get some food before he does some pit reporting for us later today. Down the front stretch, it's Oliver Weldon leading your field to the green. A massive group of minis. We're underway to turn one. Can we get another clean start? Or will we have a couple casualties? They were early on the power, but it looks to be A-okay. Honestly, everyone's going to make it through turn number one, turn number two. They'll head over to turn number four. The winds are picking up a little bit, Rob, but the racing's still clean and green and dry, most importantly.
Yeah, indeed. Super clean up front coming through the first couple of corners. A little more argy-bargy midway through the pack, but that's to be expected. Here's a move for the lead early on. That's the number 116 going down the inside. Della Vecchia able to get to the inside there of Oliver Weldon. And, hey, Weldon's having a good run. Here's a guy that earlier in the week after an injury, we thought he may not be even running. He comes out, puts it on the pole position, and now runs P2.
Yeah, super impressive. I don't know what's been up with the Weldon boys and being injury prone. Obviously, we knew Oliver, and then Sebastian about broke his ankle, it looked like, in warm-up today with a heavy impact of the wall. He's running good, too, in Junior, which will be coming up later today.
Two-driver breakaway, as you see. Della Vecchia able to get out there a little bit with Weldon. Run a 1-2, try to stretch away. See the rest of the field coming through turn number 12. They're starting to dial things in, I think, on the exit of 12. The track's starting to come in, a lot more grip developing in turn 12. You're not seeing the guys get a little shallow and pushing out. I like seeing that happen. We saw a lot of guys early getting off into the grass.
No, we saw quite a few there getting off into the dirt. So everyone's starting to figure it out. Of course, you know, the fences are lined right now. They normally are for an event of this size for everyone wanting to come out to watch, whether it's locals in Miami or other racers here waiting on their session. But you can bet when the track was changing as much as it was, for many people that hadn't been here with the new curbs and everything, they were watching every single session. I bet a lot of people took some notes. Don't go wide in that last corner.
That's exactly that. Get out here, see what goes on. You want to see what the drivers are doing. They're watching their hands. What kind of input do they have to get through the corners? Grip, of course, coming back up, and you see the two-driver breakaway out of 12 here now. Just a little bit of curbing used by Della Vecchia in the number 116. Weldon not even touching it, staying right there, P2, and that's the gap they have now coming into turn number 2 over to 3. Two drivers trying to stretch away. Over a second back to Max Christia in the number 139. Max running for PSL Karting, I believe, here this weekend. So Christia running in the third spot. Luis Umana in fourth, and Asher Oxtein now in the fifth position.
Yeah, Max Christie, again, new colors for him, new operation. He'd been under Magic Kart USA for the past year and a half or so, and you know, had some really good runs with them, and now has become kind of taking the place where Caleb Cafaro was just about 2 seasons ago as kind of the main mini driver pushing the Burrell product with PSL Karting. It seems like it's been a good fit so far. As you mentioned, he's third, so he's got a decent start, but right now we're looking at a classic mini Swift race with two drivers hooking up, and you're probably going to see them, with the experience both of them have, push away to continue to build that gap back to third.
That is so true. You've seen this before when they have some issues, especially on a track that has a tighter opening couple of corners where it kind of boxes everybody back. back up. Those up front able to stretch away. And if they're veterans, if they don't go racing each other like crazy, they're often able to pull away. And as you said, Della Vecchia and Weldon, both veterans of this category now, they got good racing minds. They'll be able to stretch away. And I don't see Weldon pushing too hard here. He'd like to make sure he stays on the front row for the main event this afternoon.
Yeah, that's all that really matters here. Again, we've talked, top 10, you've got a real good shot at the main event, even with the slightly shorter mains due to the changes in the event format with, of course, the delay this morning. We're fighting the daylight. We've got 2-lap shorter pre-finals for some classes, 2 to 4-lap shorter main events, of course, with 18 for the mini and micros, 20 for all other full-size classes. But the good part is, at least with the shorter races, for the impatient kids, they only got to push for like 4 laps, and then the race is almost over and they can fight again.
That's true enough. There's your lead duo again down into turn number 1. Weldon having a little peek to the inside. Wanted to make sure that Della Vecchia knows he's there. So I like so far the approach here for Weldon. You wonder, though, if he's going to get impatient. Is he going to make a move for the lead here pretty soon? Not yet. Driver looping in front of us here coming out of the final corner of the racetrack. We've seen a number of incidents like that. Drivers dropping a wheel at the exit. But these two drivers up front, Xander, doing a great job coming through turns 5 and 6 into the inner loop, trying to pull away. And it's, again, classic cadet racing. 2 drivers getting away, and then we'll see what happens over the final couple of laps. But right now, Della Vecchia looks really good up front.
Yeah, I mean, for a minute it looked like Weldon was going to be glued to his bumper around every part of the racetrack, but when we come out of turn number 5, I really come out of turn number 4, Della Vecchia can put about 2 to 3 car lengths on him, and now you can see, even out of that final corner, Della Vecchia is hanging it out, man. He was on the ragged edge right there, sideways, and Weldon being a little more controlled, notice he's got at least the draft down the front stretch, so he can kind of take it a little bit easier, but by Della Vecchia going a little bit harder in the sections of the racetrack that are less draft dependent, like the infield, we can see his raw pace start to pull, and that's where that gap, when we get to that infield right, double right, like turn 7 and 8, it's up to 3 kart lengths. It's already up to a kart and a half now.
Well, it was stark contrast of the exit coming out of turn number 12. Della Vecchia all over the rumble on the exit of that corner of the rumble strips, and you can see to the inside of the racetrack was Weldon holding on to the spot. Driver off the track there, the 146 involved there. I think that might have been the driver that spun early, so look for the very tail of that field here. 146, trying to pick up that number. I don't see it myself.
Yeah, that was right at the tail end here, and now as the leaders are back to it. Oh, the rain is coming here. We've already got it just starting to sprinkle once again. Yep. We just can't escape it here today.
Just exactly that. Clouds coming through and dropping a little more precipitation down once again. But again, that driver who had gone off, able to, I believe, get out of harm's way, and they're continuing on. Salvador Della Vecchia still the driver out front here in Mini Swift. Oliver Weldon, those drivers with a bit of a gap here now as well. You can see it's now Weldon back to the front. Weldon has taken that spot back again, so move Oliver Weldon back to P1 as he decided it was time. And again, with potential sprinkles coming, as we said, a light sprinkle here trackside. This could change the way you approach the last couple of laps here now. Still about 4 to go, 3 to go when they come back by. And out of the back part of this racetrack down the straightaway, you can see the leader, the JC karting driver, Oliver Weldon, back to P1, still holding that tight line out of turn number 12. Della Vecchia is not done with him at all, though, Xander. You can see he lost the lead, but he's not going anywhere. Tucked right back in behind Weldon.
No, exactly. He's right there. And just like you alluded to, Rob, this changes your strategy. Where Weldon might have been happy to wait till the final lap. Now, as soon as you see a couple sprinkles on your helmet as a driver, you know at any moment, especially here in South Florida, that could turn into a monsoon, which means when you're past the halfway mark in a race, they could end it early. It could end at any lap. It's almost like the threat of having a caution that could end a car race. It's the same concept. So in the case of Oliver Weldon, he probably saw those drops. He's like, you know what? If it gets heavier, I do not want to be in second. I want to make sure I got a shot at the win.
And I don't want to potentially get caught up if Della Vecchia gets caught out by the rain and spins up. He gets into me. I'll be the one that's in charge of my destiny here for this race. He goes back out front, and again, they'll roll their way down the back straightaway. Della Vecchia not going anywhere at all. This time a little of the exit curbing for Weldon. Laps winding down. 2 laps remaining. Aaron Likens giving them 2 to go here at start-finish. Keying on that lead battle between first and second. Weldon and Della Vecchia. Go back another over 3 seconds to Luis Umana, who runs in third. And how about Carson Weinberg? Started 11th. He's up into the 4th spot. Great run here for Carson. You can see him in the back there. In fact, starting to put some pressure, closing up on Umana.
Yeah, again, we're just I almost have a little bit of fear of just losing this battle because it looks like they're so close to going at it. You see Della Vecchia poking out every way. He might not even be trying to pass, but what he is trying to see, can he pass, right? Does he have the momentum where it's like, you know what, I could have got him here, I could have got him there, because we're coming to the white flag here, Rob. It's about to be 1 lap to go down the back. They know already 2 to go. It's kind of a waiting game. When does Weldon start blocking? When does De La Vecchia make his first move? It looks like it might come down to 1. White in the air. No, not going to go down low. Weldon, late move, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, and Weldon not fully on the defensive, kind of to the inside of the corner. De La Vecchia not pulling the trigger there. They'll come out of turn number 3 once again. So Weldon, who took the lead about 3 laps ago, has held it here. Final circuit for the drivers here in this Mini Swift category, brought to you by D&J Intermodal Services. Right behind them was that fight for 3rd and 4th with Luis Umana and Carson Weinberg. But here's the gap right now coming into the inner loop here. The double apex right-hander turns number 7 and 8 back to 9. Still a pretty good lead here for Weldon.
Yeah, still a great lead here.
Not pushing, right?
Yeah, not too bad. Just enough. Now it's just going to come down to this final run. And these two drivers run a bunch of club races together. They race all over Florida together. They know what each other does. Weldon to the bottom to block. De La Vecchia outside. Weldon tries to hold him there, pushes him wide, and into the wall. Wow, man.
So side by side coming through the corner. I don't think that Weldon figured that De La Vecchia was on the outside, was going to hold the outside like that. Just a little bit of light contact coming through. They got to get De La Vecchia out of the cart. Yeah, you never know who could come off the racetrack, and that would have been a head-on battle. He was able to come across the line and still is credited with that second spot. But I think, that would have been the contact right there. Another driver right up front. How close was that?
Man, big credit here. That's not even one of the corner mods. That's the kart recovery, one of the AMR team members rushing over there, helping get that car out of the way. That could have been a lot worse. So big applause there to the AMR track crew for being very quick and on it. But yeah.
So your thoughts on that? What do you think? Weldon in the inside, De La Vecchia trying to go to the outside. It's almost a no-win situation for De La Vecchia on the outside.
No, it's one of those moves that I like to joke with my buddies that when you get passed on the outside in racing, it's like getting dunked on in basketball.
That's true.
So 100%, it's such an emasculating feeling. You just feel so deflated when it happens. No one wants to let it happen. And then, of course, as we always talk about, when you go to the outside there, like, that's a risky move. That's why those outside moves are so cool, because most of the time you're not, the driver code is you don't get that respect when you go around that way. Especially, he was just barely getting there by the outside of the corner.
And, hey, that move would have worked in the old Homestead layout. With all that pavement on the outside, he would have been able to run the outside over top of the curbing and continue on. But with that grass there, the minute he touched the right side tires, he was done. It was already working its way over to the barriers.
And, again, it goes back. This is a learning experience for all these kids here this weekend, running on this racetrack on a big stage for the very first time. They're going to come back a lot different, honestly, probably a lot more experience, even just tomorrow for the races there. So, of course, the racing is still coming on more. I'm going to take a quick break off the microphone, and Rob will be handling the reins here with our Caleb Smock. We've got more racing to come. We'll continue to work on maybe getting some interviews in the afternoon, but you can see the wind blowing, the sun's dry. Stick with us, folks. The SuperKarts USA Winter Series rolls on.
As the Western importer of the Praga and Formula K chassis brands, Leading Edge Motorsports is a high-performance kart shop and race team with a simple mission: teach others the joy of high-performance driving, supply our customers with the highest quality products and services, and most of all, win races. With our remarkable racing inventory, expert services, and top-ranked national-level team to back it up, we'll help to get your new kart racing package up and running fast. From arrive and drive service to kart preparation and driver coaching, to the parts you need to get you back on the racetrack, Leading Edge Motorsports is the industry answer.
Welcome back, folks, to live coverage here of the Supercarts USA Winter Series opening weekend here in Homestead. Rob Howden alongside Caleb Smock. Caleb, you had a chance to call some qualifying. We're going to do some racing here as well. Pro and Master shifters getting set to go out. I know you were around the racetrack as well. I heard it when I was off getting my test done. You talked about seeing some of the corners. It seems to me, even when I went for a quick walk, still a lot of moisture on the exit curbing on the track here, and we saw guys have a lot of trouble in turn 12.
Absolutely. I think the biggest part right now, I mean, if you look at it, you can see a couple of puddles here and there, but the biggest one is that grass coming off the final corner. We've seen a couple of guys eat it on the exit, like you guys were talking about before. Awesome changes to the track that came along, really have helped the racing, but at the same time, it's helped the excitement with everyone who's really struggled with that final corner.
Well, you hope people will get a feel for the track. They've been on a track for qualifying. Now they've been on, we're almost done being on it for at least wheel-to-wheel for the first time. I'll tell you, Salvador Della Vecchia won't go to the outside again here after that contact he had at the end of that run there for Mini Swift. But we do have the drivers getting set to go here for the Pro Shifter and the Master Shifter category. Those drivers rolling out on the track to get things underway. And we'll go through the grid. Let me grab the grid here for us. We'll have a quick look. Alan Isambard will be on the pole position here for the Pro Shifter category alongside California's Billy Musgrave. Musgrave on his own factory car chassis. Skitchy Barnes from Bermuda will be the top Masters driver, qualifying P3 overall. He'll start on the outside of row number 2 alongside Giano Torino.
And we got Justin Salazar starting the 5th spot, followed by Annie Rule. And then we get into our Masters. Like we said before, the first one was going to be Sketchy Barnes starting the 3rd spot overall. Farshad Baghiyar, I believe, is a local here of Florida. Ken Schillings is going to start in the 8th spot. Justin Ewan in 9th. And I'm going to butcher these names. Solvik Putin running in P10. And Patrick Otto Masson running in the 11th spot.
Yeah, Patrick actually not able to make it here. I believe he came down with COVID, actually. Not able to come. Tough one for him. You and I will work on the ones in the back. Slavik Putatin, maybe? Putatin? I don't know. We'll see. But you're right. Farshad Baghiyar, one of the drivers, TP Kart USA, he's here in the number 605. But Alan Isambard will be the leader here in the number 253 for international racing. He'll start on the pole alongside Billy Musgrave. Musgrave, of course, 4-time Supercarts USA Super Nationals winner. Watch for him to get off the line here, but Isambard knows this track very, very well. Driver setting in. We have a straight-up start, not splitting between the two categories. Field set, going to the lights. Green, green, green. And we'll see who ends up leading out of turn number 1. Looks to me like Musgrave from the outside of the front row. I think Musgrave may have gone to P1.
Musgrave is going to be out in front. I can tell you he's probably going to make that cart about 5 feet wider than what it was on the start as it can now go into the hairpins. Like you said before, Isambard, a local here, has a lot of laps, knows how to get it done. I don't think he's panicking too much, but here we go. Sketchy Burns from Bermuda is going to be leading in your Masters. He was up there with Andy Rule for a second, but he is still leading with the Masters. And right now, Musgrave leading overall for your senior.
Yeah, Skitchy had a bit of trouble coming out of turn number 4. Looks like he might have missed a shift, and that allowed Andy Rule to close back up, and Andy tried to make a move down in 3, but again, here's Billy Musgrave, 4-time Supercarts USA Pro Shifter race winner. He'll work his way down here through turn number 12. That's the factory kart chassis, his own design. They manufacture themselves. He's running P1. I like the fact he's going head-to-head with a local driver in Alan Isambard, who really knows this racetrack. We'll see Isambard this year running for international racing in the USF Juniors category, part of the development program for the Road to Indy. Still running the shifter cart here, but a 2-driver breakaway right now, Caleb, as you can see that Musgrave has that point.
Yep, we're on board right now. Musgrave out in front. Isambard, and we said before, is pulling double duty, running 2 classes here this weekend. A lot of track time for that young man. He is now right there within striking distance of Billy Musgrave. Again, these shifters got those huge front brakes on them. You can dive bomb it here, especially into the 2 hairpins. Now within about 2 or 3 cart lengths of your leader coming down towards the final corner, but right now it looks like they're starting to pull away from the rest of the field.
Well, one of the reasons why is because it's actually Skitchy Barnes, the Masters driver, who is holding everybody up right now. I think Barnes is actually falling back potentially a couple of spots. Yeah, finally Giano Torino on the 288 able to get in front. Slavik Putatin in the number 265's gone to 4th. Andy Rule 5th. Barnes still leading the way in Masters, but for a time had 3 of the pro drivers right behind him.
And I said before, Burns is coming on, got a lot of momentum. He finished in the top 5 at SKUSA Supernats out in Vegas. And then he comes here and does double duty for Daytona Kart Week, where he ran both on the big track and the small track. So he is well conditioned, especially to be running in a shifter here.
The one thing we have to be concerned about in a long distance run is for Skitchy Barnes is he did have an incident in practice at Daytona where somebody drove over top of him and actually injured his left wrist. Now that's of course not the shifter wrist, but it's the clutch. You only use that at the very start, not the shifter. So we'll see how Barnes handles things here in that national number 2 machine. Barnes staying right there though with Puchatin and Rule. So a good a good pace out of that rabbit for Barnes to keep him away from those Masters drivers who are going to want to reel him in.
And as we said before, I've raced against Barnes a lot growing up, and he knows how to stay consistent. He's always been quick, and he's also hard to pass. But right now we're going to go on board. Musgrave out in front. Isambard running in P2. Again, he's staying right there with him. For someone who's local and just now starting to make their way up into the shifter category, he's not doing too bad.
Well, let's put it this way. Billy Musgrave, the number 3 ranked shifter car driver in the country.
Yes.
Behind A.J. Myers and Jake French. So this is one of the best shifter car drivers in the country on his own kart, and Isambard going head-to-head with him in this pre-final. I love this.
It looked like Isambard may have had a quick thought about trying to lake break in that final corner. Again, these are a little bit longer distance. We got the pre-final here. Not really worth it to send it in, especially when you got not a whole lot of karts in your shifters. We still have the final yet to go.
Yeah, 100%, Caleb. Why throw it in there right now? Get comfortable. Make sure you're in the place you need to be. Start on the front row once again. We know that Musgrave was able to get that hole shot from the outside. Isambard will just need a little more of the start for the main event, but I'm sure both these drivers content to run 1-2. The only caveat is that there are a lot of points up for grabs in the pre-final, so if you're trying to win a championship, you really don't want to leave any points on the table.
No, but it is the first round, and you can't win it if you're not in it. So he's doing a great job, but still, those two are pulling away from the rest of the field. Rule now up into third. Putatin running in fourth. Burns still in the fifth spot, but leading her Masters for that second half. The 1-2 just now across the line. We got lap number 5 in the books, halfway this time by.
Yeah, you go a little farther back. Ken Schilling, I want to say Ken's about 57 or 58 years of age. Moved from California to Florida. Thrilled to be here. Ken Schilling running in the second spot in Masters. Farshad Magari in third. Justin Salazar is the pro driver in eighth. That means Johnston Irwin will be the fourth driver. And again, as I said, Patrick Otto Madsen not here this weekend. Trouble for Giano Torino, actually out of the race here. Not sure what happened to Giano as he was running P3 for a time.
Yeah, he is now down to the back, but he still has a final yet to come. Top two are just now starting to come onto the main straightaway, and it looks like there will be a blue flag presented this time by. I believe that is cart number 628. If I'm not wrong, I believe that is Justin Ewan, who is now going to have to get the move over flag. That may be what Isambard needs to get around Musgrave, as they're now both going to fly right by, and now it looks like Musgrave's got all sorts of company, because on the back bumper is Isambard.
Yeah, I think Johnston Irwin was a little bit surprised by that. He wasn't quite sure what happened. They were throwing the blue, and he had to look over his shoulder. He wasn't really sure what to do there. Slowed up a little bit, and that allowed both Musgrave and Isambard the opportunity to slide by. Isambard missing a shift coming out of turn number 5, or 4 rather, or 5, the hairpin turn 5, and that has given a pretty good little advantage now to Musgrave. It's all it takes. You miss a shift coming out of the hairpin like that, Caleb, and it's at least going to be 2 car lengths.
Absolutely, and then you got to go to work, because in a shifter, especially with the top driver like Billy Musgrave out in front, who typically doesn't make mistakes, you got to pray that somewhere on the track you're faster, or that Musgrave's going to make a mistake to close that gap right back up.
Look at this, too. Coming across the start-finish line here. That's Putatin running P3, but Skitchy Barnes, the Masters driver, has been able to get back around Annie Rule. So Barnes having a good run here with a couple of the pro drivers. That's the way to make sure you win a Masters category. Race up there with the top pro guys and hold everybody back. So a great job for Skitchy Barnes. But again, here is Billy Musgrave making this trek out from Norco, California once again, leading the way right now here in the factory cart running that Miami SSE 175cc power plant.
Yeah, he is out in front. As we said before, Isambard's got a whole lot of work to do. Not a whole lot of time left, roughly about 4 laps to go before he is going to be able to catch back up to Billy Musgrave after he made that mistake. Sorry, 2 laps to go this time by, as now we're going to go on board, and we're on looking at Sketchy Burns running for the first spot in Masters, 3rd spot overall. He is right there with Putatin and also Annie Rule right there. Those 3 have been nose to tail this whole race.
Yeah, great battle there, of course, between Putatin, Slavik Putatin, and the Charles Leclerc number 265. Skitchy Barnes running for Hardin Motorsports Group, HMD. He's running that in that 4th spot. And Andy Rule right there as well in the Magic Cart number 204. Good scrap there for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. But again, keying in on that off-pole sitter and now current leader, Billy Musgrave. But I'll tell you this, remember, we watched that Isambard fell back a little bit after missing that shift. He has slowly worked his way back in here again, a little quicker last time, maybe 2/10 faster. White flag flying, Caleb, and it's only about 2 kart lengths.
Yeah, I don't think time's of the essence, though. He just needs that little bit more. Musgrave's got to be very consistent this last lap. Can't make any mistakes, because if he is, Isambard's right there to pounce on him. And then we go back to the top 3 that are, the 3rd spot that are battling out. Rule is able to get around Barnes. She is now 3rd overall, but Sketchy Barnes Burns has fallen back one spot, but he is still leading in your Masters.
Indeed, Rule now up into that 4th position. She's trying to put the pressure on. Back to the leader here. Final lap for the drivers in Pro Shifter and Master Shifter, and Alan Isambard closes his way back up on Billy Musgrave. We'll see if we get a challenge potentially as they come through now turns 10 and 11. The couple of left-handers in the back part of the racetrack. Big long run down the straightaway here to see what's going to happen as they come into the final corner. Looks to be like just enough of a gap here for Musgrave, and he'll cruise it across the line. Billy Musgrave with the win, not by much at all, counted as just over a 1/10 of a second. Alan Isambard holds on to second spot. Scrap coming across the line to cap it off. Putatin holds on to the 3rd position. Skitchy Barnes 4th overall. P1 in the Masters category. Annie Rule in the 5th spot. There's Ken Schilling and Farshad Bagari across the line. Schilling finishing in 2nd. Farshad Bagari, the TV card, his fastest lap, the last lap of the race, at 49.230. Did put a lot, or cut into a big gap there. Schilling did a 49.9. Cut out 7/10 on the final circuit. All in all, great run for Musgrave. Isambard showed well, and Skitchy Barnes a great run in Masters.
Yeah, you can see on that final corner, Isambard maybe thought about trying to send it in on Musgrave, and then he probably had a come to Jesus moment where you have to remember what the big picture is here. Still a fantastic run. Those two are going to be starting in the front row. That's probably going to be a good 1 and 2 battle scrap here in the final this afternoon.
Indeed, 5 down, 3 more to go for our pre-finals. We got a lineup of X30 racing for you. We'll come back after this break with X30 Junior. That will follow by X30 Master and X30 Senior. Folks, don't go anywhere. More coverage of the opening round of the 2022 SuperKarts USA Winter Series live here on Kart Chaser.
Parallel USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parallel Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParalleLUSA.com. If you're looking for top-grade equipment, look no further than Rev Performance Materials engine mounts, sprockets, and RK chains. Available online now at RevPerformanceMaterials.com and through a dealer near you. The highest quality material, built to the highest quality standards. Rev Performance Materials.
Welcome back to live coverage here from Homestead-Miami, Florida, as we are here for the 2022 SuperKarts USA Winter Series. Rob Howden, Xander Clements. Xander, pretty good start for the Kart Chaser coverage here. It's been great so far. The racing's been fantastic. We got blue skies.
We do have blue skies. It was we weren't sure we were going to get those a little bit earlier this morning, especially when we all rolled out of bed around 7, 8 or 6 a.m. and saw, man, just a flooded racetrack. But the coverage has been good. Obviously, for all of those of you who are watching here live on YouTube or live on any of the Facebook pages that are cross-posting us beyond Kart Chaser, remember, that is just for our pre-finals and qualifying. If you want the full access to be able to watch the main events coming up in just 3 more races, because we've got X30 Junior, X30 Master, and X30 Senior, make sure to join the Kart Kart Chaser premium membership at $10 per month through our YouTube channel. More information on that to come. For now, though, Rob, X30 Junior coming into the tram lines.
Junior drivers are firing things up. We'll get underway. They are into the lines, as we said. Green flag flying. Green, green, green. It's been pretty solid. A couple drivers having trouble cutting to the inside of the racetrack. Well, there's our first test for the Supercars USA Marshals with the race stewards, as a couple drivers not going around the curbing in turn one, diving to the inside. Probably a no-no there. I'm sure they'll fight the fact that they had nowhere to go, but they needed to go around the outside of that corner.
No, that track got filled up real fast, Rob. As we see here, it is still a log jam headed through turn number 5. On your screen, Cooper Beasley side by side with Sebastian Weldon for third. Weldon will win the argument. Beasley back to fourth. Matias Orjuela on his bumper. Then it should be Leonardo Scorpioni. And all the while allowing the top two to get away. Max Garcia into second. Michael Costello, who again was in the first group, was in the slow group, quote unquote, pulled it. And he's going to lead lap 1, but he runs a little wide. Here comes Garcia to the inside for the lead.
Yeah, Costello having to put a little bit more wheel on the exit to get that thing to stay out of the rumbles. And by doing that, scrubbed off a bunch of speed. That allowed Garcia to get a better run, so he puts the Will Power Kart to the inside of turn 1 and count Garcia as the leader. The young Florida driver goes to P1 to begin lap number 2. Costello, a strong run in qualifying, as you guys had mentioned, going to work his way now into second. Early lap settling things in. Out of turn number 6 through 7 and 8. Garcia, about 3 car lengths, looked really good in those opening couple of laps.
No, he looked really strong. And again, this is going back to a dry racetrack, a local like Max Garcia, who calls his place home. He's a national champion, national contender. He's got a lot of laps around this racetrack, and definitely a lot more in the dry than the wet. So the fact we're back dry now, no surprise here that he's feeling in his element. As you can see, though, it's a little bit sketchy for everybody coming to this final corner, hanging that right rear out and getting a little bit sideways when they go through the water puddles in the curbing.
Yeah, remember, every time we come out here with a new class, that's the first opportunity, unless a driver's done double duty, the first opportunity to get a feel for what this track's like. How much grip is there? We had so much rain earlier, it washed off a lot of the rubber. How much grip do I have? Where am I going to be? Where do I need to run here coming through turn 12? How much corner speed can I carry? Everybody kind of on a fact-finding mission over the first couple of laps.
No doubt about it here. Michael Costello's mission, though, starting to become a bit of a struggle. Sebastian Weldon, just on camera there, was able to get by for second. Cooper Beasley starting to apply pressure. Matias Orjuela is close, so Costello going to need to get up on his horse and go here if he wants to hang on to a decent starting spot for the final, because the Sharks are coming. Another lap complete here. Here comes Beasley. I think he's a little too far back to make a move in turn number 1, but he's applying some pressure to the Fennec driver as Sebastian Weldon now becomes the next hope to try and challenge Max Garcia here on his home turf, headed for turn number 4.
Yeah, Weldon pretty impressive, moving his way by Costello to go to P2. Costello holding on to that third spot, where Cooper Beasley would turn the purple lap on lap number 2 in that 4th spot. Matias Orjuela in 5th. Caleb Gaffera, who did not have a great qualifying session, up 3 positions from 9th. Gaffera's moved himself all the way into the 6th spot here early on. But here's a good run. This is your top 5 or top 6 right here. In fact, top 1, 2, 3, 4, top 5 pretty close together here, Xander, as they come down the back straightaway.
And I'm curious to watch the timing monitor, because I'm going to bet a good amount of money Sebastian Weldon goes purple right now. He is closing in from Max Garcia, for sure pulling away from Michael Costello across the line. There he does there, but he gets beat. Gaffera and Salim Hanna go quicker, so was quickest out of the lead group, but I would have lost my money right there. We got some fast drivers at the edge of your top 10.
You weren't wrong. Obviously a good lap there for Sebastian Weldon. He is starting to close in a little bit here on Max Garcia. Weldon a 50.2 last time by, Garcia 50.3, so chipping away at the lead. And even better racing further back, the 764 getting a spot there. That's Cooper Beasley. He's moving forward. I think he may have got by Costello. I think Beasley could be to P3.
Yeah, that's right on screen there. That's what a couple of our guys have been focusing in on, is this battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Beasley have been kind of on Costello for about the last 2.5 laps. Now Matias Orjuela looking, not going to go in the final turn, but we'll see if he gets a run out of maybe turn number 1. Here he comes. Bumper. Not this time, not close enough. Oh, and even hits the water.
You can see the water on the exit, right on the turn-in point. If you're holding that turn-in until a little bit later, there's a bit of water on the outside. It keeps seeping in from the grass that's there, and it kind of gets the car to snap oversteer on the way into the corner. Good save there by Orjuela, because that could have been nasty.
No, I've seen Michael Costello touch the water there when he was getting passed by Max Garcia as well. So a lot of sitting water, and that's in that curb on the outside going into turn number 1. So naturally, it's not getting a lot of use. It's not getting a lot of water brought rushed out of it. So those entry curbs that, again, are the same exact design and build-up as the exit curbs going this direction, but are not typically getting driven over, they probably are going to be the last ones to see dry spots.
And you roll in there and get ready to rely on your outside tires when you start to get that turning input, man, and you got water on those tires, that's when you lose the rear end. We'll see it again here. More drivers staying kind of a little bit more to the inside there. Caleb Gaffera trying to close up from further back, but there's your top running 4 drivers or 5 drivers there. Good lead here still for Max Garcia, but everybody else dialing things in.
Yeah, for a moment it looked like Sebastian Weldon might have had the pace. I thought he might have been able to get going. He had some quick laps early, but Garcia has definitely turned it up a notch. He's been quickest the last couple laps, and now Weldon's even getting reeled in by the Motez Sport Burrell Art of Cooper Beasley. Cooper Beasley had a breakout year at the end of 2021 on the regional level, was starting to make some strides on the national scene, and now he comes back to a track that he knows well for the second time at least running in a very competitive setting. You know, so it's great to see some of these kids, as we talked about, it clicks, it comes together, and they start to have that big first weekend on the national stage.
It's such a mindset change, right? Even though it was only a month between Super Nationals and now, everybody goes home, and back to see their friends, go to school a little bit, they have Christmas. You turn the page and you're a new driver. You've got that full season. This is my year. Beasley obviously stepping up in a big way. Garcia the same thing right now. I think Max Garcia is going to fight for a championship this year, a number of championships this year. He went purple a couple of laps ago. And again, we talk about this track, this winter series being that precursor, what really sets the tone for the year. This could be a big, big start for Garcia in the pre-final here, well out front now of Weldon.
No, absolutely, and now they've got even Weldon and Beasley a little bit of a gap themselves as Matias Orjuela was finally able to get by Michael Costello just off to the side of the screen there as they head down the back straightaway here. It's still second and third, a car length apart, but with now 5 car lengths or so, maybe half a second back to Orjuela, and Costello still with more pressure as Gaffera starts to apply some.
I was just going to say, put Caleb Gaffera into the fight here for a top 5 as he started to put the pressure, has reeled in Matias Orjuela, so Gaffera's right there with him, but what a good fight for second. Cooper Beasley on that Burrell Art trying to step it up and go to P2. You had mentioned that Weldon was like shot out of a cannon. He was so good for the first couple of laps. He's plateaued a little bit. It's Beasley who keeps coming on, getting quicker and quicker, moved his way up into third spot.
No, very good stuff here for Cooper Beasley. Matias Orjuela, you know, we've seen him here and there in the last year and a half or so stateside because he's been spending so much time racing over in Europe. And you see the driver, and it's, you know, you don't necessarily see it as much when it's a slow progression. You see him race every week. But it's a big progression when you see him come back every 6 months. You're like, wow, you don't even recognize him.
Who is this kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, exactly that. And indeed, Gaffera able to get by Orjuela, so move Caleb Gaffera up into the 5th position. But right now, a massive lead for Garcia. He went purple again last time by. Final lap on the racetrack. A 2.5-second lead for Max Garcia in the Will Power Kart. But we're keying again this battle for second. Oliver Weldon, Xander, holding off Cooper Beasley.
Now, Oliver Weldon doing a great job for second. Of course, half a lap to go here for Max Garcia, your race leader, coming to the checkered flag this time by. And we'll let that field go through turns 7 and 8 here before we catch back up with our leader. Again, he's a good ways up the road, down the backstretch. Final time here for Max Garcia. And it'll be a smooth cruise to the finish here. Final corner, pre-final victory.
Made it look easy. Nice run there again for Weldon, able to hold back the advantages of Beasley. He ends up in that second and third spot. Coming across the line, capping things off. Good run, as we said, there for Caleb Gaffera, worked his way forward. He and Orjuela, though, battled it out through to the very end of that one. The win, as we said, goes to Garcia. Weldon second, Beasley third, Orjuela back around Gaffera. Michael Costello started on pole, fell back to 6th. They'll need to dial things in a little bit. So Orjuela getting back by Gaffera. But how about down there, P8, Aiden Ingrata, who started deeper in the field, 11th, goes purple on the last lap. That kart's going to be pretty good if it comes in midway through when we go main event racing this afternoon.
Man, if there's one driver that just had unbelievable, like ridiculous speed at every junior race he was at last year, it was Aiden Ingrata. So definitely one to watch when we look towards the main event later today. He'll have a decent spot, as you mentioned. Stephen Miller, local driver, P9. Jacob Kolar qualified 6th overall, fell back a little bit, but again, P10, you can still fight from there. He's adapting to the new chassis, the Alonso kart. Big switch for Kolar, who had been with the IPK brand for 6 years ongoing. So that's a lot to change, especially for a young kid. You know, again, we're talking about 11 to 15-year-olds here in this junior class.
Again, X30 X30 Junior brought to you by Speed Lab Racing Engines. Max Garcia with the win. Sebastian Weldon second. Cooper Beasley third. Mateus Arguela fourth. Caleb Gaffera in the fifth spot. Two more categories still to go in the pre-final. Xander, X30 Master, X30 Senior. If people want to watch the main events, tell them what they got to do.
Yeah, exactly, folks. Once again here, if you're watching along live and you want to be able to tune in for the main event coverage, you need to go to the Kart Chaser YouTube channel and hit the join button right next to subscribe. It's $9.99 per month, bills you on the 30th day of the month, so technically today it's free. You can cancel at any time. There's no commitment to it, but it is the premium membership that allows you to watch the finals for the SuperKarts USA Winter Series and 20-plus races on the year. So again, these pre-finals free to watch on YouTube, on Facebook, all over the place, qualifying the same. If you want to watch the main events, make sure you go to youtube.com/KartChaser, hit that join button, get subscribed, join the membership. You've only got 2 more races to do before you start missing out on the action. We'll be also coming back here from commercial break with that action. In fact, X30 Master will be coming up next year again, as Rob mentioned. X30 Senior to come. Stick with us, folks, after a word from our partners. 2 more pre-finals here from Miami.
USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parolin Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParolinUSA.com. If you're looking for top-grade equipment, look no further than Rev Performance Materials engine mounts, sprockets, and arcade chains. Available online now at RevPerformanceMaterials.com and through a dealer near you. The highest quality material, built to the highest quality standards. Rev Performance Materials.
Welcome back, folks, to the opening rounds of the SuperKarts USA Winter Series for 2022. I'm Rob Howden, joined by Xander Clemens, of course, Kart Chaser, dialing things in here for live coverage of this year's event. Not only this, a lot of other events coming through 2022 as well.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of major events across the U.S. Of course, we're live on Kart Chaser next week at the Rock Cup USA Florida Winter Tour. We've got the U.S. Pro Kart Series dialed in. We've got a bunch of other regional events, of course. Our debut event, the IME USA Grand National Championship, coming back live on Kart Chaser as well. So if you join that premium membership, it's not just the monthly to watch today. You've got a whole other race weekend here in January and plenty more, 20-plus on the year, and we're adding to it as we go. So, again, if you do want to watch the main events here live from Homestead, you guys got to go to youtube.com/KartChaser. If you're not already watching on YouTube already, hit that join button and make sure you become a main event live stream member at $9.99 per month. That way you can watch the finals. They'll be posted on replay if you can't do it. If you don't want to, perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with sitting on the sidelines, although, trust me, both Rob and I, if there was a chance for us to get back behind the wheel right now, we might be doing that too and get off the sidelines ourselves.
100% we would, yeah, no doubt about it. And I'll tell you, we got ourselves a dry racetrack right now. There is a little bit of moisture we talked about on some of the entry corners, maybe a little bit on the exits. Otherwise, we've got a dry racetrack, and we are dialing things in for what will be some really good main events. You do not want to miss them. 2 more pre-finals still to come, though.
That's right here. The X30 Masters are just getting sent onto the racetrack here for their warm-up lap. They'll form up. A little bit lighter than what we'll see in X30 Senior. Of course, that's our heavy hitter class here for the SKUSA Winter Series, nearly 40 drivers. It's massive every single year. This year we're going to have a new champion with Ryan Norberg, our three-year ongoing defending champ, sitting on the sidelines for round one. We will wait to see him a little bit later in the year when he kicks off his 2022 racing campaign. But let's go ahead and take a look here, because we do have one reigning champ in X30 Master leading your field to the green. That's Norberg's teammate in Mario Barrios, the X30 Master Scooper Karts USA Pro Tour National Champ. He lines up on the front row to the inside of one of Fabio Orsolon's many drivers, this one being, I believe, Thiago Goncalves, as they head down through the tram lines here for X30 Master. It looks good. It is good. We're green down to turn one.
And that's going to be a penalty for Goncalves. He was not in his lane coming up. He was right beside. I'm not sure why he didn't go over to the lane. So Barrios with that national number 1 on the front of that cart at 5:01 on the side, holding the position down into turn number 4. So not sure what Goncalves did quite there. Just didn't get the memo to hold on to the staging lane. And he's going to try to make a move to the inside coming into turn number 4. Doesn't quite do it. And indeed, coming through now 5, 6, over to 7 and 8. Goncalves sliding into second, but Barrios with the early lead.
Yeah, Goncalves, I don't recognize that name all too much from Master competition. I mean, that might be a guy that's not run any Supercarts USA events in recent memory. Might have just forgotten that he had to stay in the tram line so he can break formation. So it's unfortunate, but again, better to happen in the pre-final than anywhere else on the day for sure. And of course, he's got more worries to worry about as we've got a pass for second. That is Luis Chiavo going down the inside. He will take over the second position. 5 carts back from your race leader, Mario Barrios. We're a lap and a half in here, Rob.
That was a solid pass by Luis Chiavo down to the inside at turn number 12. This is the guy that's got lots of experience. Former Star Mazda champion back in the early 2000s. Done a lot of racing. Tremendous to have him as part of the Masters category. He's a veteran driver, and that was a big aggressive move, owning the apex at turn number 12. Let's see if he can go after Barrios right now. So you got a veteran driver who's been a lot of karting, a lot of car racing, fighting against the national number 1 in the Supercarts USA Pro Tour.
Well, we'll watch them head through the back 90s here this time. Schiavo definitely cutting in. He's closed that gap now tremendously. Probably going to be about 0.2 of a second, maybe a 1/10 and a half at the line. Look at him. He'll close in, especially under braking. Great run through the final corner for Schiavo. Is he close enough into one? He thought about it. He moved just an inch, you know.
Yeah, but Xander, listen, you've done a lot more racing as recently than I have. You see how good his cart was coming through turn number 12. It was absolutely planted, and he was back on that throttle. You could see a little bit of wheel there for Barrios. He wasn't able to hold on to it, and they have swap spots. Schiavo's to the lead. He'll block a little to the inside. Nice defensive run. First time down. He's got enough speed. He should be able to pull away. Barrios ready to dial things back up, and right there, Goncalves P3.
No, you're right, Rob. He looks really, really good. His piece is just rolling through, and you can really see that, especially from this farther away view from the 90-degree corners that we are. You can see that gap just slowly, stretch itself out. I mean, already up to probably 3 cart lengths as they head out of the final corner, and it's just so controlled. We haven't seen a lot of drivers with a cart that looks like it's fully under them until probably right now with Luis Schiavo.
That's exactly it, right? It feels like he's just so comfortable. It's underneath him. It's not sliding. He's not struggling at all, trying to put the car where he wants, right to the apex with a lot of exit grip, a lot of forward bite, and you can see that's why he's got a 4 cart length lead out of 4 for the first time.
Yeah, no doubt about it here. Mario Barrios a little bit further back. In fact, now we got a battle for third as Goncalves has Dan Breitenstein, one of the many South Florida locals here, trying to challenge him. That's for P3, just behind your top 2. They're side by side, just off to the edge of the camera there. And as they come out of turn number 9, and they'll head towards the back 90s once again, still following with your race leader here in Luis Schiavo, and then Mario Barrios down the back, about 5 car lengths, and a big gap back to now in third with Dan Breitenstein with another lap complete here. X30 Master working its way down the front stretch.
I love seeing Breitenstein go back and forth between 4-cycle and 2-cycle. Runs a bunch of different kind of carts. I like to see that. Breitenstein pretty strong here right now. And a driver spinning up here front, Tom Gershner in the Magic Cart number 506, having a little trouble coming out of turn number 4, looping it around right in front of us here. But keying on now that battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. 4 drivers in the fight. Breitenstein, Goncalves, Michael Garrido, and Lucas Iglesias as well.
Yeah, there we go here. Michel Garrido starting to put the pressure on Goncalves. He's the closest, I'd say, out of the four. It looked like he might have been, but they're going to follow single file through here. Garrido, another local to this racetrack, just like Breitenstein, who's had a lot of racing experience, and then, kind of got life caught up, got a life, got a wife, got some kids, finds himself racing on the weekends at the local track, maybe doesn't travel all across the country like he used to.
507 making a move here further back. That is
Garrido.
Yeah, inside Goncalves. Look at that move to the inside. Book it. Good move for that for Garrido, and that's a great move. You get the pass, that exit speed, Xander, coming out at 12. You got to take advantage of it. You got to make that move to the inside of 1, because as long as you're alongside, you're getting into that corner cleanly. You're going to pinch that driver to the outside. They can't make the turn in. They got to get off it, otherwise they're not going to make the corner.
No doubt. It's a great place to pass, and the best part about it is you've got turns 2 and 3 that aren't really passing zones to kind of separate yourself. The downside to passing into, let's say, the back hairpin turn 4 is you have to do exactly what Luis Schiavo did sometimes and block, because turn 5, the very next corner, is a great passing opportunity for them to pass you back, and then you just get going.
So the pass in 1 is really solidified in 2 and 3, because you can't really make a pass back. You can't recover.
Right.
I like that.
It allows you to kind of get that bit of a gap. That's why it's nice too to pass, let's say, in turn number 9, which we'll get there over on the back side of the racetrack, because those 90-degree corners in the back, turns 10, 11, you can't really pass there, and if you roll good through those corners, you're not going to get past at the end of the backstretch with the draft into 12. So they're still shuffling a little bit here now that Garrido's gone by Breitenstein for 3rd. Goncalves still in the 5th spot, and we're keeping a close tab on that, and of course a close tab on the leaders, because while Barrios has slipped back from Luis Schiavo, it's not a massive gap from P1 to P2. It's just enough we're keeping a close eye. Okay, they're not going to battle yet. We can take a look back. We can feature some of the other battles here. We also want to give them some love here. Schiavo puts another one in the books out in front.
Yeah, he looks real good here. But keep a look at the lap times. Last time by, Barrios turning his fastest lap was a little bit quicker. A couple of hundredths of a second faster. That kart's starting to get better. So is Michel Garrido's kart. Let's see if Schiavo, if he doesn't want to plateau. He went fast as purple a couple laps ago. But you can see Barrios is just slowly closing back in. And let's be real, the guys over at Rawlson know how to set a card up for sure, and they'll have this thing coming in lap 5, 6, and 7 to make sure he's good to the end.
No, you're talking about the most dominant X30 team in the last 2 seasons by far. They've been on an undefeated streak in X30 main events. Now, we may see that change here today, because both Nate Cicero and Hannah Greenemeyer even made contact with the barrier in qualifying. We missed that for a moment. Just barely nudged it over in turn number 1, trying to go wide. So the seniors got their work cut out for him. Mario Barrios definitely has his hands full with Luis Schiavo, but he's right there in second, just applying some pressure here with 2 laps to go.
And he just went purple. Barrios just goes purple to go closer by about a tenth of a second, a half a second back. Lucas Iglesias just went purple as well from P5. So we've got a couple of guys whose karts are really starting to come in with 2 laps remaining. Watch for them to get aggressive. And in fact, Iglesias with the fight on Breitenstein right now. That is for P4.
Yeah, again, we're just switching back and forth here. You're on your screen right now is your leader, Luis Schiavo. There is your battle back for P4. Breitenstein getting shuffled back, as you mentioned. So he just loses that spot in turn number 5 to Iglesias, who, as you mentioned as well, went purple. So a lot of speed. It's too late to really get to the top 2. Might, with an outside shot, get to Michel Garrido, but still only a lap to go here. White flag coming.
Yeah, the bottom line for Iglesias, he gets a feel for the kart. Hey, we got that thing coming in. It was the fastest thing on the racetrack on lap number 9. That means a lot. Final circuit, as you said, Luis Schiavo's lead, still about a half a second. Both he and Barrios turning good lap times, their personal best. Schiavo about a tenth quicker. That's why he's got this gap coming out of turn number 4. Looks like about 4 or 5 car lengths, maybe a little more as you see him rolling down here into turn number 5 and through 6. Been a really strong run for Schiavo, having taken the lead from Barrios early on.
Yeah, you'd think maybe it would have edged out a little bit more, but after he got 3 or 4 car lengths, it just kind of inched. Again, as you mentioned, couple hundreds here, couple hundreds there. Sometimes he'd lose a little bit overall. It's more than enough to kind of hold that gap, though. So as they come down the backstretch for the final time, X30 Master, your pre-final winner will be Luis Schiavo over Mario Barrios, and battle for 4th, 5th at the line. Whoa, Breitenstein!
Yeah, coming down the back straight, Dan Breitenstein was looking over his shoulder trying to find out where Iglesias was.
Actually, that was Romalo. Sorry.
Oh, that was
Danilo Romalo. So he lost one more at the end. Romallo just found a hole, got to the inside, and just like we were talking about earlier, man, it's already rough enough with getting pushed to the outside when you're on asphalt. Now with that dirt runoff, a lot more guys I think are going to be second-guessing whether or not they give going into the braking zone for turn 12.
I agree, yeah, that was Danilo Romallo coming up late in the run, and Iglesias had already fought by. We thought maybe Breitenstein had got back by, but no, it was Romallo who was able to close up. So Breitenstein goes from 4th down to 6th over the last couple of laps. Schiavo, last lap, a purple lap. Pretty solid there. That's what you want to see. I want to win the race, my last lap being the best, meaning I had the kart set up perfectly, and when we go that extra distance in the main event, I know that I've got a setup that's going to be fast in the second half of the race. Xander Schiavo with the win, Barrio second, Garrido third, Iglesias fourth, and Romallo that last lap puts him P5.
Yeah, good run there at the end for Romallo. Gets him to the inside of row number 3 for the main event. One more pre-final still to come here. We're live with audio on the ECAN Radio Network. We're live with video across YouTube and Facebook's many platforms for Kart Chaser and Superkarts USA. The SKUSA Winter Series opening weekend here rolls on with its headline class for the weekend, just getting the engines fired. Stick with us, folks, when we come back from the break. X30 Senior to come here live from Homestead. Kart Store USA is a kart parts supplier that racers and retailers can count on when they need reliable advice and service. We focus on servicing all racers with honesty and pride while maintaining customer satisfaction. We carry a full stock of Kart Republic and Tony Kart chassis, as well as IAMI and Vortex Rock engines. We've also got a host of other parts available and in stock, such as products from Rev Performance Materials, Jecco Racing Seats, and more. We have a 100% satisfaction guarantee, and on top of that, if your order exceeds $200, shipping is on us. Check out all we have to offer today by visiting us online at kartstore-usa.com. Here from Homestead, X30 Senior Pre Final, Mateus Morgado, Paul Bocuse, your front row coming in the tram lines, looking, green flag, and a lot of the field at the end was not able to get lined up, so that's going to make turn 1 a little bit cleaner. It's also going to, we got 2 together. Somehow they all going to make it, but again, about like 25th on back, they weren't even up to the line. Everyone was slacking single file for the last second. So let's see, Rob, here out of turn number 4, your updated order does have Morgado the leader, Ramos into second. I'm trying to see we've got up to third. Noah Baker, rookie, P3 here. Great start for Noah.
Yeah, Noah started 5th, able to jump up into P3 in the opening lap. Chaos, good job for the rookie senior driver. Mateus Morgado, though, out to the lead from pole. Tremendous job for him. Bocuse sliding into second as well. So the guys up front taking full advantage of that. About a 4-driver breakaway early on. A little bit of a gap back to P5 as Morgado looking strong. Diego Ramos into the second spot. And again, Baker in third. And Thomas Nepfu for Trinity Karting Group into that third position. Look at this driver off.
Jeremy Fletcher is off in the final turn with what looks to be a mechanical issue. He is done. The 322 rookie hotshot who dominated practice day is out with a blown chain here in the GWR Tony Kart. Man, that bites here in the pre-final. He'll go all the way back to nearly 40th.
Well, I'll tell you this right now. Grab a Kart Chaser camera and point it at Jeremy Fletcher for the entire main event, because he is going to be fun to watch coming from the tail. He's shown so much great speed. New leader right now. We'll come back to that, but he's shown so much great speed. We're going to watch him through the main event.
Yeah, new leader there, Rob. Great catch. Noah Baker getting by Mateus Morgado in turn 9. Here comes Diego Ramos to the bumper. These are 2 good buddies off the racetrack. Morgado and Ramos. We'll see if they work together or if Ramos is going to throw him to the wayside. Turn 1, he stays in line. Again, this is the difference, I think, when I describe to a lot of kids from X30 Junior racing to X30 Senior racing. If this were an X30 Junior race, Ramos would have instantly gone by Morgado in turn 1. It would have been a 5-kart gap now for Noah Baker, and they would have given him no chance. Now, granted, Ramos did lose a spot for it, but as a whole, the pack keeps the leader in line, and that's what we've seen so many times in Junior. You don't see as much in Senior where one guy gets lucky and they fight and let him get away.
Well, very good point. And I think Ryan Norberg's talked about that before. I think he has one of his videos about that, about managing a race. Sometimes you don't need to lead every time. As long as you're in that fight, you're watching that race develop. It's almost like a living organism as it kind of grows and it evolves throughout the race. What about this, though, here for Noah Baker? Here's a junior driver coming up into senior, leading here at the Winter Series. You never know what the juniors are going to do, how they're going to react to things. It has been very impressive thus far for Noah Baker.
No, very, very impressive for Noah Baker here as we watch the field head down to turn number 1. We got Noah Baker up front. Thomas Neveau was able to get by into second. Alessandro DiTullio right there in turn 4 goes by the pole sitter Morgado. He gets up into third. Morgado is fourth. And I believe in fifth right behind is Paulie Massimino, the RPM Tony Kart driver. Not a great qualifying run, but he's made up a number of spots here early on. And as they work their way towards the back, I can definitely say that we've got our second place driver, Thomas Neveau, the Canadian Rob, starting to close in here on Noah Baker.
I tell you, Nepfu's just had so much good momentum, building off of last year, off of the Super Nationals. Of course, ran all last year in the Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship, scored a win at Road America, but he's still dabbling in karting. He still loves it. He and his manager and tuner, Coy Arbor, moved to Trinity Karting Group. He's felt at home in that team and is really starting to step up. Thomas Nepfu right into the scrap up into that second spot, as we talked about. He's putting the pressure on, and I talked to him last night. He felt so confident where he was.
Man, talk about confidence. You're right. It's nearly a cart length back. Nepfu just sent it down the inside, and here come the entire line trying to put the elbows onto Noah Baker. Morgado is going to pay the price for it. He loses a little bit. They're 2x2 headed back through 10 and 11 down the backstretch. Neveau, your leader, DiTullio to second. And a gap. Baker somehow fends off the charge, and Massimino moves into fourth.
I think you've got to give it up for Noah Baker there, too. He lost the spot, but he had to put the elbows up through 7 and 8 to not lose more positions over to 9 as well. He holds on to P3, but a big move, like you said, to the inside of turn number 5 for Thomas Nepfu. Aggressive, right to the apex. Good job for him as he grabs that P1 position. DiTullio taking advantage of it as well, going into second.
And here he comes, DiTullio looking inside. New leader, Alessandro DiTullio, able to get by on Thomas Neveau, and he takes over the top spot as they head through turns 7 and 8. Great pass there, and man, they have traded the lead, I think, almost every single lap so far this pre-final.
You want them to kind of settle in right now, though, and try to pull away. Nepfu holding on to that second spot as DiTullio has the lead. He looks like he's trying to stretch away a little bit here. They'll work their way down the back straightaway right now. Coming out of turn 12, DiTullio, your leader. Nepfu into second. He's now got to get back at it again. But DiTullio, what a great run for him. Started fourth, now the leader. We saw Noah Baker, who started up front, work his way, got to the front, started fifth. He's now back to third. Morgado, the pole sitter, back to P4.
Yeah, here we go as they battle again. This time, Baker not going to go by Morgado. He had a little look, thought better of it. Morgado, having finally gotten by Baker, moves himself back into third. Massimino looks like he's just been really able to take advantage of all the shuffling they're doing in front of him. He's back to 6 once again, and as they head through turns 10 and 11 and down the back straightaway here this time, your leader, as mentioned, Alessandro DiTullio, looking to finally right from 2021, where he could have had a breakout weekend here in Miami. Now he's got one in the works. Down the front straightaway, about a half-second gap, back from second with Neveau to third on the racetrack being Mateus Morgado. And this is a part of the race where things kind of stabilize just for a little bit. They start to at least figure out the battles amongst themselves, put some hot laps down, and you start to see a few drivers fall off where they may have been able to kind of fake it and battle in the lead group. When they get single file like this and they put some hot laps together, that's when we start to see the real contenders shine.
Yeah, especially as we get past the halfway point too, right? How did you hit the setup? Where were you on tire pressures? 3 laps to go right now. If you were faking it till you made it up front, you're going to start falling backwards. You got to have a good kart. It's got to come in strong in the second half of this one. Alessandro DiTullio still leading. In fact, got a little bit of a gap, probably 3 kart lengths. They worked their way down into turn number 12 now. Watching the aspect of both those karts through turn 12, looking pretty good. It's now Morgado into third, trying to reel his way back up. Diego Ramos has been able to get by Noah Baker as well, but you'll start looking at the gap between Nepfu in second and Morgado in third.
Yeah, as they head out of turn number 4 here, DiTullio and Neveau. Neveau maybe a little bit closer this time, half a kart back as they go into 5. I don't know, I just don't think we'll see too much passing, but again, just Great stuff for Noah Baker to be so confident up here in this top 6 group. I mean, this is a strong lead pack, and one driver who we haven't really talked about too much here in this specific session. We've talked about him a lot here today already. John Burke quickly moving towards the end of this train. He was a little bit further back. The Super Tune Tony Kart driver, 7th, digging towards the top 6 here as they head down to the final corner.
Indeed, he went green last time by Xander. He's working his way forward. Burke, another green lap, his personal best, 48.258. 4/10 quicker than Paulie Massimino. That's why he's closing up. As you said, 2 seconds separate the top 7 drivers right now. White flag flying. Final lap on the racetrack for the drivers here in X30 Senior. This class brought to you by Group A Apparel. DeTulio out front, Nepfu second. Noah Baker just goes purple. He's P4, but keep an eye on Nepfu. Does he have anything here on the final lap?
Yeah, I don't know. He's been keeping him close here. He hasn't necessarily been all over him, but he's been able to definitely provide a good challenge as they go down the backstretch here. DeTulio, 3 karts up on Nevo, 3 karts back to Morgado, who's got a late race last breath. And out of the final corner, checkered flag, DeTulio, your winner here in the pre-final.
Indeed. Watching to see who ends up purple, and that was John Burke. Xander you brought him up that he was coming on strong, and he was. Goes purple with a 48.182. Again, a fast kart, lap 10. That bodes well for the main event for Burke. We'll start on the inside of row number 4. DeTulio P1, Nepfu in second, Morgado third, Noah Baker fourth, Diego Ramos rounding out the top 5, Paulie Massimino 6th, John Burke 7th, Eduardo Vila in 8th, Noah Leon in 9th, and Jace Park rounding out your top 10. Xander, pre-finals are done. It's main event time for round number 1 of the SuperKarts USA Winter Series.
That is here, and again, they're already queued up again with no lunch break, no real time off. They're running all the way through the afternoon, so you've got continuous racing coming your way here. Again, we're going to stay live, free on the EKN Radio Network for the audio stream. It'll be free on replay, but if you want to watch these main events with video coverage here live from AMR Motorplex in Homestead-Miami, make sure to go to youtube.com/kartchaser, hit the join button, and become a premium member to be able to watch the finals. We'll let you know all the action. We'll keep our socials updated. The EKN socials are always updated with every class winner as well. And you'll be able to watch the replay of these mains after the race is over. But if you want to watch it live and keep watching this live stream, youtube.com/kartchaser. Hit the join button. And again, those first 30 days, it doesn't bill you until the 30th day. You can cancel at any time for your subscription. Stick with us, folks, again, here as we wait to go back racing. It is all that is left are the main events here for round number 1.